Hello everyone, welcome to episode 72 of Floating Through Film. This week we are doing another, I guess you could say this is a contemporary episode.
Yeah, you're stretching
it. It kind of is, though.
I guess
if Collateral was, this is...
Well, I guess one of the movies did come out in 2022, yeah.
Exactly.
I guess.
No, this is actually a this year release to me.
Is it? Wait, did it come out in the US this year?
I think it came out this year, what's it say on Letterboxd?
Because I think on Letterboxd said 2022.
Oh, it does?
If I'm not mistaken, I could have misread it.
Because I'm pretty sure this came out in theaters in India in 2023, too.
Okay.
It does say 2022 on Letterboxd.
That might be festival, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I never know.
Letterboxd is weird on that.
But that could be right, too. I always go by Letterboxd one, because
the
thing, so...
They're the
but either way, this is... We're calling this a contemporary episode. Okay. We're staying contemporary things. With, honestly, two directors that I like.
Well, it's a blind, you should mention it.
That's why I'm talking. Yeah. I should introduce my host, too.
Yeah.
Blake.
What's up?
And Luke.
Hi.
So, this is another Blind Spots. Our whole concept is that one of us picks a movie that we've seen, but the other two hosts haven't seen.
Yes.
And this week we're doing Waking Life by Richard Linklater and Like an Afternoon Dream by Lijo Jose Pellissery. And I guess these... Blake mentioned this before we started, but I guess I'll just ask it, and it's kind of true, and I've thought especially after watching it, it's definitely true. These movies have a more, honestly, direct relation, kind of...
Yeah.
They're very similar in a lot of ways, especially in themes, even if the images themselves are a lot different.
Well, just the feeling
cool.
they both
give
are very similar.
Which is, kind of awesome, considering how different they are as well.
Yes.
Even just the pacing alone and stuff. But I'll start with you, Blake. What comes to your mind? What do you guys want? What do you want to talk about?
No, that was whenever because I watched Like an Afternoon Dream first, and then watched A Waking Life. And watching A Waking Life, I was like, this is basically what the director of An Afternoon Dream was trying to do in that movie, basically. Show is basically just a waking dream almost. You don't really know if this is the real you or if it's not.
It's like a lazy dream, too.
Yeah, they definitely feel a lot different also.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into. I'm sure we'll get into Waking Life first. But, I didn't... This first watch for Waking Life specifically, I was like... It felt like it was trying to lull me to sleep, and it was working. Actually, it was trying to put
Which
me to
is
sleep
weird, because
almost.
you could honestly describe that exactly as Like an Afternoon Dream.
Yeah, you could too.
Yeah, literally, that's how the whole movie takes place for all the characters.
Yeah.
And with Waking Life, especially with Waking Life, I noticed the art style and what's happening are very connected because they're both taking that almost space between reality and dream. Where it's it's dreamy, it's a dream, but it's still grounded in some kind of reality. I feel that's kind of basically applies to the other movie too.
Yes.
But
okay, so and we can keep going because before I wanted to, honestly, I was reading this interview that Richard Linklater did in 2001. It was with the website Pop Matters, and he basically, as he was talking about the interview, it was like, holy shit, it was kind of clicking in my head why I like this movie so much. And the fact that I've watched it already. This is my 5th time watching it, so. But it just has a lot of concepts I'm really interested in, and that I've read a lot about. And but he gives a lot of good reasoning on why his kind of reasoning behind the film, and just it's not even that long of an interview. But one thing you said that I'll read now that reminded me of is so I'll just read the whole quote. A lot of this was instinctual, looking for a way to encompass the contradictions, like being awake in your sleep. Films are so much like dreams that I don't think films about dreams work. So this film had to be about something else. To me, it was about becoming aware in your dreams.
Okay.
Which he is claiming is different than just dreaming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, that's almost what this character's journey is in the film. Is kind of becoming aware that it's a dream. You know?
Yeah.
Not just that it's a dream itself. Which, if you can see what I'm saying.
Yeah. And then they use the words waking dream, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, a contradiction, like you said.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, there's another quote he said that I kind of wanted to read because it reminded me of. I think I've already mentioned it a couple times after the Ozzy episode, but I want to mention it again because it's the reason why I keep picking a lot of these movies. So the quote is, "The film is nothing but structure and perspective." Then he goes a little further. Actually, I'll just read the whole thing because it's good. It's like, okay, I don't know my name, but what can you do about it? The film is linear, moving through a projector at a certain rate. Time is moving, whatever you know or don't know. It tells you that you don't really need those hooks. You don't need a character you can empathize with. And then this is the important part I liked. You see so many movies that give you ridiculous reasons to care about a character, like his dog died. But all that is constructs. You can care about other things.
Yeah.
And remember what I said earlier about... I've actually said it a couple times, but... Basically, when Bordwell was talking about Ozu, and he says, functions don't necessarily create explicable meanings. Meaning is only one effect of form and style. Okay. Remember that?
Yes.
And both these movies kind of have that kind of attitude towards them, where it's like, they don't have specific meanings. Either one of them do. They're very much just like, very hazy, almost just like a dream is.
Yeah.
You know, where it's not telling you anything directly the whole time. You're almost like trying to grasp for stuff, and it's not coming, you know? And in that way, it's almost like making you aware of just the process of the film itself.
Yeah, and it's very relaxing, too. Like, yes.
No, once you become aware of that, it is very relaxing.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to accept that first, because, like, the first time... Like, Waking Life almost has a kind of, like, Godard structure to it, where it's, like, very video... some of the more video essayistic movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
Where it's, like, very fast, a lot of ideas, contradictory ideas back to back. Yeah. So it's, like, it can be very disorienting. Yeah. Which is supposed to be on purpose, you know? Because, I read in that quote, he's trying to, you know, show contradictions in the work. And, like, in the movie itself to get you to break free of that kind of attachment to... like I said, linear narrative, etc. So, what comes to mind when I say that before we get into the movies? Does anything specific come to mind?
No, it's just the not even just like the dialogue or like the changing ideas in the dialogue, like trying to like lull you basically into like this stupor. But it's like it's the background, like just the animation itself is literally trying to make it had this effect on me while watching it where I was like. Not falling asleep, but almost falling asleep, you know? Like, I almost fell asleep while watching this because mostly because of the background, I thought. Because, like, once I started noticing how the background was, like, literally just moving basically all the time. Like, no matter what was happening, it's always doing something.
And, like, the art style was, like, changing between scene to scene.
Yeah, it's, like, very hazy and stuff.
I should talk about that, and we can get into Waking Life, too. So, I wanted to mention a couple things about Waking Life specifically, because you brought it up, so this animation style is called rotoscoping, which apparently is existed in animation for a long time, and it's basically where they film a live action thing, and then they use that live action to animate over it, kind of. Yeah. And apparently, what they did unique in this movie, which was the early 2000s, so kind of when video was just kind of, I mean, video had existed in the 90s too, but this is like, at least especially in animation too, video is starting to get more popular, and this is technically an indie movie, like only cost like $2 or $3 million, and. But what they did special is rotoscoping in video format, which allowed it to be a lot cheaper, like I just said.
Yeah. So they shot all digitally, like.
So that's the thing. They shot all the video footage digitally, handheld, and then every scene. The animator he did. There's like a 5-minute YouTube interview he did with the animator, and apparently, there's 30 different animators. So it's like basically every scene. I'm pretty sure it's every scene is a different artist they found in Austin to do a scene for the movie. Yeah, so all of them were like indie artists, I guess, in their area.
That makes sense. Actually.
And that's literally goes to what you're saying. And they mentioned that in the interview where it's normally in an animated movie, all the images on purpose are meant to feel the same. Yeah. Right? They have a similar art style where the animator, even if it's a lot of different animators doing it, they're told to follow a specific style, and you want the film to kind of look the same throughout, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case in this one, where they told people to, go crazy almost. You can tell in some of them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's like, as I've watched it 5 times, there are certain scenes now where I'm like, oh, when I think of this guy, the animation style like pops in my head, and it's very unique. It's like, oh, I like this guy's animation.
But it still like feels coherent though. That's the thing,
definitely.
too.
Well, because that's the movie itself is contradictions.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be coherent. So just by doing that, it's coherent.
It feels coherent in the way a dream is almost.
Yes,
It literally is just reminds you of a dream. Like just flitting. Like you don't know where your dream's gonna take you next, basically.
And more importantly, the connection to how that's very similar to just life itself.
Yes.
Right, and that's the whole point he's trying to make, where he's trying to wake up, and he's like, I can't wake up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of leads us.
No, because you could even just say like the very beginning of the movie is him just dying, but
yeah. Okay, is that what you think?
That's what I thought whenever I didn't know what to think whenever he like bent down to pick up the piece of paper and it said look to your right, and then it was just a car that hit him, and then he woke up, and I was like, is this just him dying basically?
But yeah, so you never know,
because you don't know, because like they go on to like there's so many more conversations that go on like after you die you have like 5 to 10 minutes of brain activity, and then and like if you think of a dream, how long does it, like you could like fall asleep for like 60 seconds. But the dream, it felt like a day or something like that. It's like, I think that's Ethan Hawke and the other girl's conversation, maybe.
Well, those are the two characters from the Before trilogy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So were they playing the exact same characters? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were or not. But.
Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of connecting movies and dreams.
Yes.
Another way.
Yes.
No, it is for sure.
So I thought the way I could do it is I kind of have every chapter. And I'll maybe briefly mention the character or something. Yeah. If anything stands out,
but like something. The thing is, like characterization doesn't even really like. There's like barely any characterization. Basically.
Or just what stands out from you, the scene or something.
Okay, yeah. Like it's more just like I feel like it's more just about like the feeling like we talked about and the stuff and like what they're talking about basically.
Yes. That's why there's a few scenes that I'll point out specifically, but maybe you guys have some. Maybe if I briefly mention, because like. There is some, maybe, he is just floating from character to character almost.
Yeah, it's like there's not like a lot like in between. He's just like
I'm gonna definitely skip some because some of them are just very brief too. But we can't get everything. But like you said, so at the very beginning of the movie is when he's actually playing that game.
Yeah. With
the kid, and then he gets the thing that says "Dream is Destiny."
Yeah.
Almost like, it's kind of just saying like that's his destiny of the movie almost, right? Like. And Linklater said in that same interview where he said he liked that idea of if the kid had gotten a different thing, the movie would have been completely different. Like almost like his life would have been completely different.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Just because that one thing, and he like almost like that idea based on the movie, and that's why obviously that's why the scene's
the persona.
The persona.
Yes. Yes. I mean, dude, this guy's hair it has to be from like a persona influence from the Devil.
Probably. Yeah, honestly, maybe
that guy's great hair. But so that's Dream is Destiny, and then he gets the guy. Chapter 2 is called Anchors Away, where the guy in the boat comes and gets him.
Okay, yeah.
And this is where you can already tell it's kind of
that just felt like a dream.
Yeah, it does.
Rick Linklater is like playing the one guy.
Yes, and that's actually important too because he's the one who's like, actually, I know where he should go. Let him go off right here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, honestly, damn, I didn't think about that.
That's just a little meta commentary. That's what I'm saying. He's like got some Godard in him for sure too.
Yeah.
With just like putting himself in movies in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because he shows, and this is what made me think of the door too, is he later shows up later.
At the end.
When he's talking, when it's more specific that it's Linklater, and he's talking to him about the dream he had.
Yeah.
And he's actually playing at a pinball machine.
Yeah.
First.
No, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Godard does that in one of his movies.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Vivre.
Is it him at a pinball machine?
Oh, him at... Okay, no. So I thought someone plays a pinball machine.
He uses pinball machines in a few of his movies anyway.
I'm pretty sure there's one in Vivre Savie.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yes. If
I'm not mistaken.
Either way.
There might be one in Mask and Conan, but yeah.
But this kind of just making himself aware, like making yourself, the director, aware in the movie. There's actually a long tradition. Obviously, there's a long history of that. But Linklater makes him get off the boat. Life Lessons is chapter 3, and this is where they talk about existentialism, which is something I'm actually pretty interested in too. I don't know how much you guys really know about that.
I mean, it's like I'm interested in it, but like I don't want to think about it too much.
Why?
Kind of depressing.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that's what actually...
Yeah, they did talk about that.
No, that's actually funny, because that's exactly what he says.
Yeah. I forgot about that,
That's crazy because he's literally like saying people think of existentialism as a philosophy of despair, but he says it's actually a philosophy of life because it helps you understand.
Damn,
But it can be depressing though.
Yeah,
and that's actually the point though. Is it can be depressing to think about stuff like that, but once you think about them, it can be freeing almost.
Yeah,
which is kind of what he's saying in his speech to some degree. But this is just like one idea. We get existentialism, but there's a few different ones. The next character in this scene is the one I actually really liked. I've never heard of her. Her name was Kim Krizan, and apparently she's a screenwriter. But she has a great quote. I'll just read. Quote. And so much of our experience is intangible. So much of what we perceive cannot be expressed. It's unspeakable. And yet, when we communicate with one another and we feel that we've connected and we think that we're understood, I think we have a feeling of almost spiritual communion. And that feeling might be transient, but I think it's what we live for. And it's just... There's like little moments in that where you kind of have to watch the movie over and over again and almost read it like an essay because there is a transcript you can find online that's actually really easy to read too, and you can read it. It basically reads like a story too, if you wanted to. But yeah, that's just like one of those moments where you can tell this is a lot of Linklater's own moments.
Yeah, I'm wondering
of people he's met in his life.
Okay,
just interviewing them almost.
Yeah, I was wondering I wonder if a lot of this was just him interviewing people.
Yes. No, because I'll mention a few of the people he talks to. Like the one I just talked to, the existentialist professor. He was a professor at the University of Texas at Austin.
Okay.
The next guy we're going to get that actually came right after the lady we just talked about. He was also a professor at the University of Texas at Austin as a chemistry professor. And he actually has one of my favorite animations of he has the glasses and he's the scientist guy. Yeah. He's talking about how evolution is the evolution of man and everything. The evolution of the organism to man. You just have to. I don't want to describe his too much because you have to watch it. But the animation fits perfectly to how he's basically talking movies and stuff. But that's why the rotoscoping works though, is because you can animate based on how the person themselves is talking.
Yeah.
So for a guy like him, you can tell he was actually moving his hands and stuff when he was talking. And so they animated after that, so it actually works really well for the animation style.
Yeah, Alex Jones' animation is really great too.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
We'll get there.
Yes. No, because honestly, we'll get there. We're actually not that far away from this. But the next scene, he basically goes home, and this is where honestly, this is the most Tarkovsky shot in the movie. Is when he goes home and he tries to go to sleep, and he starts floating in the bed.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of Tarkovsky. I actually wrote my note. Mirror. I wrote Mirror too, but also Solaris.
Yes.
They float. Too.
Okay. Yeah.
But Mirror is when he's actually there.
Yeah. The girl is actually.
Yes. And someone else has used this before.
Miyazaki might have
the floating in the bed thing.
The Exorcist,
or just floating. Yeah. I mean,
is that after Tarkovsky or before?
No, that's 1973.
That's
around at the same time as Tarkovsky.
Yeah. What's Mirror?
Mirror 75.
Oh, that just might be 75 also. I can't remember when the Exorcist was.
Tarkovsky steal?
Oh, let me make sure.
Oh, damn.
I mean, but
it was 73. Okay,
but literally Miyazaki, Castle in the Sky.
Yes, no, Miyazaki has a lot of floating girls.
Yeah, a lot of other people too.
See, that's why our title, our podcast name is.
Oh yeah. Damn.
No, that's that's why it's hard. Floating and dreams go really well together, just as you describe both of them.
They do.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you've lost some kind of control, Yeah. But it's almost a relaxing. It's like a relaxing loss of control.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the most part, except I do love this. I don't know where in the movie this is, but that one guy talking about you go to work and then I worked a whole day and then I realized I woke up and I was working in my dreams. They pay you for 8 hours a day, and then they get your dreams for free. And I was holy shit, this is literally my life.
I know, dude. It's so depressing too.
It is so depressing.
Have you had dreams about your?
I have had multiple dreams. It usually only happens whenever I get stressed.
No,
but once I do, I dream about work, and it's the worst fucking dreams ever. I hate them so much.
We'll just dude, because I brought this up actually at work the other day, where it's how people always tell you keep your work life and your home life separated and stuff. Yeah. But really, to a certain degree, it doesn't make sense because you're still the same person going back and forth, and that's actually a great description of that. It's you can say that as much as you want, but if your work stresses you out, you're going to take it home.
Yeah.
It's how can you not? You're the same person. You're not a fucking robot that just turn it off.
That's what they want us to be.
Yes, exactly. But Yeah, no, but that's I guess one benefit of dreaming.
Yeah, because you can't escape at the very least for the most part.
Yes. And also it can be escape too.
Yes.
You know, from those if the dreams are good. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why it can be good to be aware of them. Which is kind of the point this movie is making.
Yeah.
To some degree. But no, the next scene is actually one of my favorite ones too. Is we see the guy that's like he basically goes on this rant about kind of what we've been talking about to some degree, how you can't change what's happening to you, especially in society and everything, how society actually needs conflict, et cetera, and then he just all of a sudden he's like getting gasoline and stuff. You don't know why he's doing it, and all of a sudden you know, just pours lights himself on fire, and he looks really similar to the famous Vietnamese monk that lit himself on fire.
Yeah, and I also love like the other people walking by in that scene because they just kind of look back and like it's like oh that's like it's like they're treating like an everyday occurrence basically.
No, yeah, it shows that, and then the camera like floats away too. Kind of from above.
Yeah. And he like flops.
There's also the guy. There's also the guy that did that in front of the Senate. I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
I think that was during the Vietnam War also.
Okay.
Because I know that marker, and like one of them in the Far From Vietnam discussed that actually in their short, in that documentary that they all did. I don't remember which one did it, but
because I know the Vietnamese monk did it during the
did it during the Vietnam War too.
Actually, I put it in my notes.
I don't remember exactly where this guy set himself on fire, but I think it was a white guy. 1963. I don't think it was a Vietnamese.
It was in Saigon.
So. Oh, okay,
apparently he was protesting. It was like a Buddhist organization protesting the
war,
the kind of the U.S. government's influence on the Buddhist religion, basically. Yeah, because
there was an American citizen that did that too. Didn't change anything, I don't think, obviously. But I think that's also kind of what this little short is showing. Is because like no one cares almost. That
it's almost cares, but it's like almost like in some sense you almost respect it because it's like it's like it's a certain type of awareness. You know, where like you can do nothing, and you can see why this would lead to death. You know, or someone would choose that. Because have you guys seen Mouchette?
No.
Persons?
No.
Damn.
Don't look at me.
Okay, should I just say? Come on, let me say.
Is it like a?
Let me say.
If we know this, will it ruin? Like,
no, it won't. Okay. Spoilers shouldn't ruin the movie.
Well, I'm just saying.
But it
I mean, it's Persons. So I don't think it's like a huge deal.
Either way, he deals with death in that movie. People listening should understand. That's all I'll say.
That makes sense.
Because we are going to do Persons soon. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
So we'll get to him. We'll get to that one. But well, let's keep going. Because the next scene is one of the happy scenes. Because that is kind of a depressing scene all of a sudden in the movie. Yeah. And those happen every now and then in the movie, which I really like. Because, like I said, he's trying to display these contradictions in life or dreams, however you want to see it.
Yeah.
And so he's showing you all different aspects of that. And so it all of a sudden cuts from, that depressing moment to the Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke in bed.
Yeah.
So you're like, if you're a Linklater stan, all of a sudden you're like, oh, sure, that's up for me. No, but
are you a Linklater stan?
See, that's the thing. I actually was going to say this earlier before we got distracted at the very beginning. Yeah. These are two directors that I haven't seen that much from.
Okay,
but I can tell I think I'm going to like them. And the ones I've seen, like Dazed and Confused a couple times.
Before Trilogy,
I've seen once, and then Waking Life. But I haven't seen.
You've seen Scared Darkly too.
Yes, I have, and that has a similar animation style.
Okay.
But no, I haven't seen. And the Pellissery director, I've only seen two of his. And the other one I watched this week too. So.
Okay. Yeah.
No. So. But I really like these two movies, obviously.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're at the Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke scene.
Yes.
And I don't know what stands out to you. Like they're kind of talking about the one thing I really like. They're talking about just like another aspect of dreams.
Yeah.
They talk about like reincarnation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like she's trying to use math. Like if souls are reincarnated and the population has exponentially grown, like where are all the souls? Where
are the souls? Yeah.
Are most souls still new? But I mean, it's obviously it's a mischaracterization of reincarnation because that's kind of what Ethan Hawke says is actually more accurate to how ancient philosophers actually understood reincarnation. But he says something about reincarnation as basic collective memory, and how memory is passed down from almost generation to generation and stuff through bodies almost. And he kind of says he says some stuff. He mentions a study that I don't know how true I don't know how it can be true, but do you remember what he says? The study about how there's two people that take a test. One people take it first, and it's something like one people take it first, and so the answer's already out in the world or something.
Okay,
and the next group that takes it get 20% higher scores.
Yeah.
Without ever communicating with the first group or anything. And he says there's just something about, once the answers are out there, that's already what he says. They kind of just find their way.
Yeah.
Or something where like a scientific discovery happens in one part of the world and all of a sudden they start happening everywhere about a similar topic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's why we get like those similar movies that release every year,
Honestly, though.
Oh, that's more. I don't know.
It is weird that happens.
Yeah,
like,
it is weird that happens, honestly.
Like, because it still doesn't make sense. The studio is trying to build off the other one that's exactly like it. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But it almost just like collides that way somehow.
Yeah, well, most of the time they come out the same year too, though.
So yeah, they do. That's what I'm saying.
Olympus is falling, London is falling.
Well, yeah,
no, Olympus is falling.
There's the
volcano
volcano
Impact
ones.
and Armageddon.
There's also the volcano ones, which are, I guess.
There's one that came out.
Movies,
There's some that came out this year too. Oh, the Pinocchio movies last year.
Yes, that's another one.
Aren't there like 6 movies being made about Dracula? But I guess that's Dracula.
Yeah, I honestly don't get that. Maybe it is a studio thing where like, if one of the studios thinks, "Oh, this movie's a flop," we might as well like coast off the other one.
Yeah.
Like a Pinocchio situation or something. Like maybe people get confused as the Del Toro one or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. Exactly, that's the thing.
That's why you hire Robin Zemeckis. No, I don't know. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I just want to put that out there.
We'll go to the next one. Is another University of Texas.
Wait, is the Ethan Hawke one? Is that where they discuss the dream, like the brain being the active 5 to 10 minutes? After death?
Yes.
Okay,
that's also another one.
Yeah. Because so when did he did get hit by the car at the very beginning of the movie, right?
Yes, it's towards the beginning.
Yeah, because he picks up that paper and then looks over. Because right whenever they were talking,
the paper says look to your right.
Yes, and then it's just a car.
Yeah.
And so like it's like right whenever they get to that conversation in the Ethan Hawke in that part of the movie, like I was thinking like, holy shit, has this guy just been dead this entire time? That's why he can't wake up. It's just like he's just floating through the last 5 to 10 minutes of his brain activity, like waiting for what happens next almost. And this is like just everything that could happen next almost, like. Because it's just a bunch of different like philosophy and religious ideas of like what the afterlife is almost, or like what dreams are.
Yes.
Or like is
honestly,
dreams
I really like
like
that.
Afterlife.
I really like that because that's a good way to like the movie is almost like giving you hints of what the movie could mean in the past, of like past things that happened to it. And that's like good. Yeah. Because that makes sense. Like, why else would that scene be him getting hit by the car be there?
Yeah.
Because it is kind of almost like a dramatic moment. It's like almost a few.
So like, look to your right is like literally like a direction a director would give to it.
It is, yeah. It's like the same like Linklater does earlier.
Yeah.
Which is really the whole point of the movie. The whole thing is constructed.
Yeah.
Which is and part of it is you can construct it in your head too. So it can be that like the movie can easily read like that if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, and this whole thing being constructed also leads to one of the I don't remember which. I think it's one of the vignettes in here where it's the person talking about free will. And
that's
how there's really
one.
We're here. All right, nice.
That's this one because I was gonna say it's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, because like that just goes to this entire movie being constructed. Like there's really no free will technically because it's all like being constructed. But
dude, this is why like philosophy has talked about free will for so long.
Yeah,
because it's not just an easy answer of we have free will or we don't have free will. Almost like the question itself is like just like he says, it's literally staring you in the face. He already says that the question just stares you in the face. Like, what does it mean to have free will? You know, because like. One example for me is like when we talk about history in the past, we always talk about like the people didn't have any free will almost. You know, it was like almost inevitable for them. Yeah. Like a certain thing, like this Chinese emperor had this power, so of course he was going to kill these 20,000 people. And we just talk about it like that, Yeah. And like the people there, they didn't have any free will. But when you talk about our own lives, like we have so much free will, even though we still have all these forces over us that are basically guiding our lives too. Yeah. And that's just like. But once again, we can't get rid of the idea of free will, though. So what does that even mean? Like he says. But yeah, he says something like, should our freedom just be a matter of probabilities? And he's like, we have to find a way to not just make it like that. Because it does feel like science is like that a lot of times. Yeah. We're just like, I don't know, whatever, what do scientists say is true, that's true. And that's like, whatever the majority of scientists say is true or something. But
yeah, and as It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has taught us, science is a bitch. No.
Yes, exactly. No,
yes, exactly.
No, science is not a bitch, but it's not like literally the only thing, though.
No, yeah, it could be proven wrong. That's why it's called the scientific method or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
For proving disproven things.
No,
and that's like, oh, was it Oppenheimer? What movie did we watch recently where it was like things that are like true now might not be true like 50 years from now, basically? Or it's like things we're doing, like, I don't know. It's like things that we think is true now, 50 years from now might be disproven. Basically,
yes, not might. A lot of things will be disproven.
Well, yes, exactly. Like, because we already do that basically every year. We're disproving things that we.
Well, and the thing before, I like the example
I
was
which movie I was thinking of with that, but
obviously Barbie. No,
obviously Barbie.
Oppenheimer kind of we talked about that with like Einstein already being like an old head in his day.
Yeah,
you know. Like he was already washed up, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's kind of how they show him, though.
Honestly,
no, but yeah, that's good. But because I was gonna say this before you said that, but because at the end of this professor talking about free will, where he says we have to find a new way to live, a room. He says a room for persons and not just bodies. It cuts to this Alex Jones scene.
Oh, nice.
And now I'm thinking about it, it kind of is a perfect transition. Because that guy says we need to basically find a new way to live. And it's almost like he's... Richard Linklater is trying to point out like an opposite perspective, like an opposite guy on the spectrum that's almost saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Because he's basically going on a rant that a lot of people would probably disagree with, even on both sides. And obviously Alex Jones is like... Because this was in like 2001.
Yeah, he hadn't gone full
exactly.
crazy. We thought
he was already crazy.
Then, but
yeah, exactly. But he was way less crazy back then.
He hadn't said the frogs were gay yet. You know?
Yeah, stuff. Actually, he might have said that. But
he might have said that.
Yeah. Maybe he was thinking it, but just didn't say it out loud yet. You know.
No, yeah, no, but because I want to read his quote because the quote is actually a really moving scene. Honestly, I really like it because he's like he's like driving through a car and he's on a speakerphone just yelling.
Okay, yeah.
When he's like yelling, and I'll read the end because it actually is kind of I like it. He says, "I'm sick of it. I'm not going to take it." He says, "I'm sick of it. I'm not going to take a bite out of it. Do you got me? Resistance is not futile. We're going to win this thing. Humankind is too good. We're not a bunch of underachievers. We're going to stand up and we're going to be human beings. We're going to get fired up about the real things, the things that matter, creativity and the dynamic human spirit that refuses to submit. Well, that's it. That's all I've got to say. It's in your court." And he just drives off.
This
reminds me of Nashville.
I was about to say.
Yeah. Well, except for it's the opposite. I mean, it's kind of with the speakerphone and stuff.
Yeah.
But Nashville's is almost like the opposite. It's like making the opposite point where it's like a political guy making similar claims, but it seems like ironic.
Yeah.
You know? Like his just like because the guy's not even there the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's just there, I think, only through speakerphone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Like it's just playing his voice.
Yeah, you never see him.
You never see
in the
him.
flesh. Yeah, I can see that. But it's interesting.
This one I like because it feels more honest. Like even from a guy.
It feels honest.
Natural one's
like, to me, it's like an example of the contradictions, first of all, in life, where it's like, even if there's someone you disagree with, a lot of times they have similar motivations to you.
Yeah.
You know? And that, that just makes life more complicated.
Yeah.
But
and honestly, I'm betting Linklater might have gotten that idea to broadcast it that way from Nashville because he put Nashville on his Sight and Sound list.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, so he loves Nashville. I know that.
Damn.
It's one of his favorite movies.
Damn.
No, I just like this scene because it's like I like the way it's filmed specifically and the way it's like the way it's animated because first off his face turns red, but I'm just talking about like it feels like he's screaming to the ether. Because whenever you think of like a person doing something like this, people on the street that might be listening, they're only going to catch literally like a little snippet and then he's going to be gone. So it's just like he's literally screaming to the ether that way. But the way it's like animated is like you can't really see the backgrounds or anything through the windows. You're basically only seeing him in the car. I know that you can see like there's one time where you can see the background whenever he's driving over the bridge and you see the city in the background, which is really cool. But it's like everything seems kind of washed out and it's just like mostly about him. It's just closer to him and it's like he's screaming into the ether. Like no one's understanding what he's saying basically.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would say mine's quick, but his face doesn't even get red. It gets like past red. It goes like to purple.
It does.
Yeah.
Which I really like, but
No, I was going to say something you mentioned earlier about the guy that lit himself on fire. That Luke literally said you can see the other people just standing there. And that's literally like you said about this scene too. It's like when people hear this, I know they're just going to hear it for a few seconds and not care.
Yeah.
So it's almost about something different. It's about expressing yourself almost that he's doing this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And in that way, like showing others, but it's like more complicated than just one or the other. You know.
Yeah.
But it's weird. We just had that conversation with Alex Jones. That's what this movie can do.
Imagine Linklater made this like last year and then like put Alex Jones in there. Like that'd be crazy.
That would be some insane shit.
But honestly, someone could do that and use Trump maybe in a way.
Okay.
Or maybe he's just too ironic and funny and just stupid.
Yeah, and Alex Jones had the whole Sandy Hook thing since
Yeah.
then. So.
Okay, yeah, he's had a lot of controversy since then.
Yeah. Shocking, I know.
Shocking.
Okay, there's another guy that I didn't get that many notes named Otto Hoffman that talks about honestly, he says the word chain, and I was like, "Oh, Oppenheimer!" Like,
yeah, no, I
he's
thought
like,
that
it's literally something like recognizing the chain of existence kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
it was very similar. It's very similar to what we were talking about chain reactions and how Oppenheimer was talking about.
Basically, he says like something about affirming all of existence, like through seeing these kind of chains or something like that. But the next guy is who I really like, the Greater Mind guy. He's the African writer. His name is Akilu Gebrewald.
I think I know.
He talks about the greater mind.
Okay, I think. Wait, you'll have to say like what is it?
Should I read the whole thing? It's not. It's like a paragraph.
The main character is what I might call the mind. Its mastery, its capacity to represent. Throughout history, attempts have been made to contain those experiences which happen at the edge, at the limit, where the mind is vulnerable. But I think we are in a very significant moment in history. Those moments, those what I might call liminal, limit, frontier, edge zone experiences are actually now becoming the norm. These multiplicities and distinctions and differences that have given great difficulty to the old mind are actually, through entering into their very essence, tasting and feeling their uniqueness, one might make a breakthrough to that common something that holds them together. And so the main character is, to this new mind, greater mind. A mind that yet is to be. And when we obviously enter into that mode, you can see a radical subjectivity, radical attunement to individuality, uniqueness, to that which the mind is, opens itself to a vast objectivity. So the story is a story of the cosmos now. The moment is not just a passing, empty, nothing. Yet, and this is in the way in which these secret passages happen, yes, it's empty with such fullness that the great moment, the great life of the universe is pulsating in it. And each one, each object, each place, each act leaves mark. And that story is singular, but in fact, it's story after story.
And okay, so after Luke said that, I just decided I was going to play the video, or at least the audio over it. So you should have just heard his whole speech there, which I love. And it makes sense to play it because you kind of need his like vocal intonations as he's saying it. Especially my favorite part where he says, "A greater mind." But really, like, he's kind of making similar. Like, a lot of these characters are making similar kind of points. You can kind of see what they're saying, but also different when you really kind of look at what they're saying. But his is like kind of making a similar point of how we're all experiencing in one aspect the same reality. You know, that's how we can prove each other was true. But at the same time, we're each telling almost very individual stories. You know, and a lot of this movie is kind of almost becoming aware of that. You know, even in everyday life, that experiences you have are still very unique. You know, and almost like it's certain times we only realize that years later. You know, where like you'll have a dream about something, and years later when you think about that dream, it's almost the same way you think about something that actually happened in your life. You know, they just turn into memories almost the same way. You know, and it's almost like becoming aware of that in the moment, that this thing that happened to you is going to become a memory the same way like a dream becomes like a memory. No, that
got me thinking for a while.
No, that's what this movie does, though.
Yeah,
and I think that's why it almost oversaturates you with so much stuff, because it literally is. Because it oversaturates you to such a degree that you can fall asleep to it, but you could maybe fall asleep to just listening to one of the guys talk about something.
Yeah,
you know, and maybe that would be in your dream, just the thing he was talking about.
Dreaming this movie, that would be crazy.
Honestly,
have you ever done that?
Like, what do you mean, like lucid dream?
Like dream this movie?
Oh, this movie itself?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, but like honestly though, when it was talking about lucid dreaming in the movie, like
No, because people say they can do that. I've never done it.
Yeah, I want to like.
I've recognized I'm in a dream before, but I've never been able to control it. So.
Yeah,
I've been able to control like a couple dreams, but that's like very rarely.
And what was that like? Like
I don't remember, to be honest. I just remember it happened. But yeah, I know people have like methods of like actually being able to lucid dream like often.
We'll get to them a little later, but they're called I guess they're called Onurots or something. I don't know how to say it, but it's like starts with an O. But I guess they're like people that study the dream world or something.
Yeah, which I mean, I sort of this movie kind of made me like, well, damn, maybe I should like do that eventually. Like
honestly, yeah, because you saying that, how you said you've done that before, you control a dream, but you forgot it. Yeah, that's why a lot of people have dream journals in the first place.
Yeah. It's
because they like writing down what their dreams had, and that's probably something I should do that at some point because it's good to know, I guess, what you dream, because I do forget most of them. Most of the time, by the time you're brushing your teeth, you forgot what you dreamed about a lot of the time. So
yeah,
it just takes more effort.
And it's like so immediate, like as soon as you wake up.
Yeah, exactly. Like feel like the second you wake up, it feels very real. Then like almost like 2 seconds later, it's like you don't even remember it.
Damn.
It's a very weird part of dreaming.
No, it is. No, some of the dreams I still remember are the ones I recognize that I was dreaming, basically.
Oh, okay.
But like, because there was this one dream, this dream was fucking creepy as hell too. Because it was whenever I was still living with my parents. I was like 18, I'm pretty sure, and I remember falling asleep at like midnight, and then I looked at the clock, and it was like 2 o'clock, and then I looked at the foot of my bed, and there was just like red eyes staring at me. And then I woke up, and then there was nothing there, and I was like, holy fucking shit, dude, that was so fucking scary.
There was something there. No.
I mean, if you think of a dream sometimes like that, they are.
Damn, stuff like that where it just like jump scares you away.
Yeah.
I guess those are the ones like you'd also remember too. Damn.
No, there's a lot of dreams that you can remember,
but I'm sure we'll come back to the dream aspect at some point. But okay, I'm gonna go through some of these. Are like I only wrote down short words because I didn't like. I'm not saying they're not important, but sometimes it's like some of this. The movie's not meant to be watched on one watch, almost to me, because it's like there's no way you can retain all the information. So it's like you kind of have to be like, oh, this time I'll kind of maybe keep this idea in mind based on what this guy said.
No, if I had one complaint, it was like it was so much talking for
that's why I said Godard
for an hour 40. Yeah,
that's why I said Godard.
No, yeah. And that goes to some of my dislikes of Godard sometimes too, but But this one I like more specifically because I like the content more, or the subject matter more.
No, it's definitely really interesting subject matter. So there's I guess chapter 9. That's where we're at anyway, story wise. But the next one I'll get to anyway that I want to talk about is in chapter 9. It's the bar scene. Did you guys see this coming?
Oh no! I did not see this.
Well, they're talking about they're talking about their memories of when he had to pull a gun on a guy once. He pulls the gun out and he's like, why don't you just pull the?
He was like, I haven't fired the sneer. I don't even know if it works.
Now this scene is
like, why don't you pull
Godard,
the trigger?
honestly.
Yeah. Well, Godard in the sense of. Right when you're almost caught into he's telling a very realistic story. You're almost caught like, okay, this is a human-like character.
Yeah.
He's like, all of a sudden he turns
into.
Then
he reminds you that, like, basically.
He reminds you of the film /Dream.
Slaps you in the face, hits you in the head with it.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, Godard is a.
Well, I was thinking like the scene from like Masculine and Feminine, when the couple gets in the argument and the guy walks out
with a machine gun, like in this.
Well, no, and then the woman takes the gun and just shoots him. I think it's Godard actually. The guy who plays the guy who gets shot.
What's the one where there's also like a machine gun in the background?
That's View of the City, I'm pretty sure.
And like fucking Weekend is like full of that.
Yeah.
Which I actually have been wanting to rewatch too.
That's another one. We were during that break, during the Greater Mind break. We were talking about Fellini somehow, and like some of his movies just tire me, kind of. That's another one of those.
But Weekend, I want to give it another shot.
I should give it another shot. I should,
because in a way, it's what he wants you to feel.
Exactly. It's like I can't be mad because he got the emotion he wanted.
Yeah. So like, that's one of those movies. Like, hard to find.
But yeah, so you basically, like you said, he reminds us with the dream. I mean, with the gun, that it's a dream kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think he wakes up right after that too. Yeah, he does wake up because he calls his friend. He's like, "I just had the craziest dream."
Yeah.
And that's when he goes and starts trying to watch TV. I think he's like, because we see the TV a few times.
Yeah.
And he's trying to almost make the point like, just watching TV like this is almost like another kind of, almost like zombie-like dream state, where you just change channels over and over again with like basically choosing your images.
And it's the
kinda like he's
same.
saying.
It's the same things over and over.
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. But there are some kind of brief moments we get because there's this one guy he kind of pauses on during the channel, and he says it's a short quote. Where most consider their individual relationship to the universe, I contemplate relationships of my various selves to one another.
Yeah,
So that's a good line too.
We also get a Soderbergh.
Yeah, that's coming along.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. No, that's another one too. Because it's like this quote he's trying to point out, and the Soderbergh one comes up with the next one. But the scene we're actually at now is the Oneirot's dream. I don't know how to say it. I'll spell it. Oneironuts. Oneirots. I forgot.
We get what you're saying.
Yes. And
what
I guess what he says is explorers of the dream world.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I didn't know that.
It's something like it's obviously playing on astronaut, the word astronaut in some way.
Yeah.
As
honestly, the root word must have something to do with exploring or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, he basically gives his whole speech about why they do what they do and everything, and kind of what we've been talking about, like I said.
Yeah.
So I won't go over too much, but
Yeah.
but it kind of there's a different guy in this scene who's playing the ukulele, and that's who Blake mentioned earlier. And his quote's really good, which I'll read the whole thing because you kind of mentioned earlier, where he says, "Do you ever have a job that you hated, worked really hard at, a long hard day at work, finally get to go home, get in bed, close your eyes, and immediately you wake up and realize that the whole day at work had been a dream? It's bad enough that you sell your waking life for minimum wage, but now they get your dreams for free too."
That's a great way to say it.
Yeah, it is. And he's on a ukulele
Yeah,
singing
no,
it too. And it's like, damn, yeah. Because there's moments like that where you think, if you just described it in a paragraph, this movie, you'd be like, oh, it's very dreamy, floaty, kind of like, hazy, a lot of those kind of words. But there are certain moments that really hit you too. That are very I guess certain moments that just like really hit you, like, damn, that's kind of depressing too. It's not all just kind of depressing. Maybe it's not all just hazy. I would say that.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned.
Well, it's just like dreams. Like they're like you don't remember everything from your dream, obviously. You'd probably just remember the not the big
dream
moments,
is
but
most
the feeling.
important a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then you kind of remember certain aspects of that like created that feeling, but
Yeah.
really it's like the feeling you remember first. Like you said,
I'm just remembering dreams of work now, and it's just the worst. The feeling is
especially
what
since
makes
you've had the
makes
job
it
a long.
stick,
You've
so.
had like a same or similar job a long time.
Yeah, that's it. I've had the
So-
same job for a while, so.
So of course, like damn. Yeah, no, I haven't had too many dreams about work. I feel like I've had a few, but it's like always sad. It always sucks.
It always does suck. It always does suck.
Especially if you realize it a little bit.
I do not mind dreaming about people from work. Like I don't mind dreaming about my friends, but like
yes, because they'll
but
pop.
if I'm working in the dream, it's the fucking worst dream I've ever had. Like every time, because it's always worse than real life too. That's the problem. Because like the dream world, or like my bad dreams about work are always like everything's gone to complete shit.
It's like
I'm just
Godard,
behind on
like,
everything.
that's
It's just like oh my god.
Yeah, it's like a worst case scenario.
It's just like worst case scenario of like everything. So it's even worse than being awake.
Honestly.
So we'll keep going then. So really, the next scene is also. I've been saying this about a few scenes.
Yeah.
But I mentioned this to you guys before. The Bazin.
Yes,
quote.
Bazin
That's this
scene,
one.
yeah.
The chapter's called "The Holy Moment." And I don't know. Do you remember what he says at all?
Well, he's
Kinda
talking
like,
about.
what do you think?
He's
do you
talking
remember
about
what he says with the Holy
Bazin's ideal cinema is like setting up the camera and capturing life, basically.
Yes.
And how like cinema like it takes a point of time and makes it the focus, or like
yes.
like I forgot exactly how he says it, but it's like it's kind of like very like meta in the movie because he's watching it on his screen.
That's
like,
also Godard.
yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
But okay, I'll read some of the because I kind of highlighted some of the quotes, but the whole thing is amazing that he says kind of as he's talking about Bazin.
Yeah.
But he kind of says Bazin's whole thing is for him, reality and God are the same. And so what a film actually is capturing is like God incarnate, creating at this very moment. God is manifesting this, and that's why Bazin saw cinema so important because he's like that's what the camera does better than any other art form. Where another art form you kind of have to create it first in your head. Where cinema you can literally just put the camera and be like. And if you believe in God, you can be like, I'm recording what God created, as closely as possible. And that was what he loved about film so much. And that's kind of what he's talking about, what the holy moment is. And the film can kind of make you realize that.
Yes.
And that's why he liked the neo-realist movement so much, is certain aspects of that, No, but I like that whole chapter too, and you kind of see the whole the holy moment chapter title come up too.
Yeah,
He's trying to emphasize it too. And he also quotes Truffaut.
Yes.
Or he says something about Truffaut always said the best films aren't made, or the best scripts don't make the best films.
Yes.
Because they're kind of the point I've made a lot. Kind of it's the whole learning the whole narrative structure thing.
Yeah.
But he says the best scripts don't make the best films because they have that kind of literary narrative thing that you're sort of a slave to. The best films are the ones that aren't tied to
What's
that
interesting,
slavery.
too, about specifically Truffaut is that I'm presuming this is during his film critic days he said this, because he went on to make a lot of literary adaptations. That's kind of a big part of the...
But he's saying, the most important part of the film, though, is you almost have to see, the director in between the gaps kind of thing.
Okay.
It's what the director is doing on the set, or deciding
because
how to film a certain
Truffaut,
moment
at least a
or
lot of the ones I've seen, it's they are linear movies, but they're also capturing the feeling of just his love for Paris, or Paris in general, basically.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay.
a lot of the new wave directors capture Paris well, but Truffaut has a certain love for the.
I know him and Godard had a falling out about kind of his
idea?
leaning into more literary.
Also,
sources.
Godard saw him as going more studio, more
mainstream. They kind of went in opposite directions.
Yeah. No, and it sucks that Truffaut died so young because obviously Godard was making movies in his 80s and stuff.
Yeah,
Some of his best, honestly.
I can't say that for sure, but
I can't. Okay.
but I believe it. Directors do make some of their best movies late in life.
Goodbye to Language is maybe his best movie, honestly.
Okay, that's a
damn. All right.
Yeah, I really want to watch it in 3D because the movie was made for 3D, and it looks like it was too. You're watching some of the scenes of that movie, and it just looks like it was made for 3D, and you really want to watch it that way. But
damn.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna skip through some of these scenes quickly because like I said. A lot of it is about the animation style, and a lot of these themes I've already talked about, so I don't want to keep repeating myself. So I'll kind of mention at least some of the images. There's we see a guy on a train, and he's like, "Oh, are you a dreamer too?" I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. Then we also see, then it cuts to the alien guy, who's also he's giving his speech as he walks off the Earth.
Yes.
Because the reason why I want to mention this because it kind of reminded me at the end of the Tale of Princess Kaguya. Because he's kind of talking about what makes a human, but then also why he's leaving and stuff. So it kind of reminds me of that moment at the end of Princess Kaguya where she's becoming not human again.
Yeah.
But
is the guy who the other dreamer, was that the guy who talked about the light switch?
No, this is a different guy.
Okay, a different guy.
Oh, the train guy you're talking about?
No, the light switch.
The guy in the chair that's is oh,
that was one of the Honorats guy where he's you're if you're a dream if the light switch doesn't work or something.
And then the kid goes to check test it out. And he just looks back at him and he gives him a little smile.
Yeah. Which is kind of a point the movie kind of just hints at a little bit. But basically, if this whole movie's a dream, that means he must have had some of these ideas in his head already.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, maybe that's why.
But remember what Ethan Hawke talks about in that one scene is how did these people come up with these certain ideas even if they never directly interacted with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still making that point too. Is how could he have if this was a dream? How would he know that information about?
But I guess maybe him being so interested in these topics because he is going to these people.
But his reaction is is this coming from outside me? He even says that one. I think it's a little later where he says sometimes you'll experience these and it feels like it's outside of you, and that's what makes a dream special, right? When you're in the dream, when you don't realize, when you're not aware of it, it still feels like all of it's new stuff happening to you.
Yeah.
You're still why am I dreaming about my third grade teacher or something all of a sudden? I wouldn't be thinking about that in my daily life. But in a dream, it just pops up it comes up randomly. Outside of your control, basically.
Yeah.
But it still feels internal, right? It's still your dream. It's not someone else. It's not the same as someone else coming up and talking to you.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about.
Okay, so the next chapter is called Anne's. And this is actually kind of what I just mentioned. This is the scene I was talking about where he talks to this girl who I think he thinks is reality, at least for a little bit, where he runs into her and she's like, I don't want to be an aunt, we're just two people. I actually want to communicate, blah, blah, blah. And so but then it cuts back, and they're at her apartment, they're still talking. And as she's going on about her story idea, he has this realization, like I just said, where he's if I'm dreaming, because he realizes he's dreaming while she's talking, and she's but he's if I'm dreaming right now, I've never had this idea that you're having about that story. You know, it feels external to me, but yeah, I know I'm dreaming. So where's that idea coming from? Because it's not me having that, but it is his. Like technically, if he's dreaming, it's his idea, right, compared to someone else's. Yeah. But to him, it's like it's not his idea. Like it's her idea, you know.
Yeah. Oh man, this is
and that's literally literally that point of the scene though, and that's why that's kind of the point of the movie makes too. You can realize moments like that in real life too, if you view it the same way.
Yeah. Okay.
What were you gonna say something? Or?
Well, I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but
maybe I'll come back to you.
Maybe.
Okay.
He's like, okay. It's not coming back.
Okay, because I wanted to mention something here. Because at the end, he says this to her. Something about
what it was. Go. No, so it was like how like this whenever you think of like essentially think like this is like a simulation almost, like life is like a simulation, or like even like in your dream, like you don't know it's real. But if I'm dreaming and like say this is my dream, how would I know if you guys are real or not? Like what makes you real? Like how are you having your own thoughts? That's basically what he's saying to this girl, and this is like I'm having a real conversation with you and you're saying thoughts that I've never had. So it's like if you think about it like and like a real like if we're living a waking dream right now, how would and you actually realize that like you're just you're just a part of the dream basically. And it's just like what does that make the other person even think of? Because I think she starts to say stuff about this too, like because I think he actually asked in this like what does that make you if you're just like in my dream basically, like how does it feel? I think he actually asked her like how does it feel to be a part of my dream basically. And I was like, and she kind of just ignores it. Yeah, she just kind of ignores it, but it's like it makes you think about stuff like that too.
You literally saying that is kind of what leads to the next scene. It's this is also one of my favorite with the guy walking on the bridge and he's like a poet. His name is Timothy Speed Levitch. And he's like has the crazy eyes. And they're walking like on the bridge, and there's like stars everywhere.
Yeah.
But he says at the very end, he says, "Before you drift off, don't forget," which is to say, remember, because remembering is so much more a psychotic activity than forgetting. Lorca, in that same poem, said that the iguana will bite those who do not dream, and as one realizes that one is a dream figure in another person's dream, that is self-awareness. Yeah, and that's literally basically what you just said.
Yeah.
As one realizes that one is a dream figure in another person's dream, that's self-awareness. Because to some degree, that is true. Like, the way I prove you're real will always be different than the way I prove my own experience is real.
Yeah.
Right? The same way I prove a dream is real, you know? Like, this is, like, kind of a deep philosophical topic. It's hard to talk about. Like,
I hope you guys are real and not my subconscious. Like,
what?
I hope you guys are real and not my subconscious. Like,
but everything is filtered through your subconscious.
Damn, this is too much.
Or conscious is too much.
No, that's why there's so like the brain is so interesting because they say like they should eventually have a cure for Alzheimer's once they eventually figure out how it works because like once you remember or like once it's in your brain, like once you have a memory of something, once it's in your brain, it doesn't leave. You just forget about it. Like they've actually proven that's true. Like you can like it's always there's always something in like there's always going to be that memory in your brain. You just can't you can't just like grab it though. Like sometimes like that's what Alzheimer's is basically. Is just making you forget those. Yes. Like that's why it's so cruel. Like that disease is so cruel. Is literally making you forget everything basically.
Yeah.
But like they think that they can eventually find a cure for it because everything's still there. Because even Alzheimer's patients remember things every once in a while. It's just not all the time, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like
some connection missing or something.
Yeah, it's just like your brain misfires basically. So once they can figure that out, then who knows? But yeah, like that whole thing, like it filters through your subconscious. That's what I think it was always in high school. Like people would always say like study and like if you can't figure or no, it's like if you're doing a puzzle or something, you get stuck, just go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then whenever you wake up, your subconscious never stops working. Mm-hmm. So like if you're working on a puzzle, you might not know how to do it that first day, but then like by the third day, if you just like stop doing it. And you come back to it, and you'll see like, oh, this is like super fucking easy. Like, why didn't I see this the first time? Yeah. But it's because your brain never stopped working on it. So
exactly. But that's also another deep point. I was going to mention this a little later when we started the next movie, but I'll kind of mention it now. Monty Call talks about this a lot, and this is a long tradition in Indian just philosophy and history, religion too. Basically, in a lot of Indian philosophy, there's basically three states of consciousness. There's waking, there's dreaming. These are the two we've talked about. But the one that doesn't get really talked about in the West, but it was talked about a lot in India, is deep sleep. That's basically an old third state of consciousness where we still exist, but it's not in the way we think we exist, right? It's almost like we exist separate from that brain you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like you wake up and your brain has answers for you that was working outside of you.
Yeah.
You know? And like proving there's some kind of split between who you think you are and the brain that does something, you know?
Yeah.
As a muscle, which it literally is. But
Yes.
the reason I was going to save it for the next movie is because the next movie we do, has a lot more sleeping in it.
Yes, it does.
And it literally changes the movie twice with states of sleeping. Where you see people sleep, it changes their states of consciousness change, and they go back to sleep, and it changes again. Literally what happens when you go to sleep, but obviously it's emphasized in the movie. But no, the fact that you mentioned sleeping, though, that's a huge part of dreaming, right? Like,
yes.
And the fact that deep sleep, like the time, like even if you don't have a dream about whatever you're thinking about, the next morning when you wake up and you have like answers to it, there's something mysterious about it, right? It's also why it's hard to go to sleep.
Yeah.
When you have a problem, because you don't trust that. You know, you're like, why would I trust that to something that I'm not thinking about right now? You know?
Yeah, it's hard to shut your brain off sometimes.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Not sometimes.
No,
like literally all the time.
It's literally all the time.
Because that's why we always think of ourselves as the brain. And that's kind of what I was saying, is that's not the case. You know? We think of ourselves as our thoughts. But really our thoughts are something we're having.
Yeah.
Which is you know...
it's too much.
It's too much.
You can see, like, this is why I'm really interested. A lot of these subjects are very similar to me. This is why This is why I like reading about this stuff, because films and dreams are very similar. Obviously, like a lot of filmmakers have said throughout history.
Yes.
And I've noticed really from the very beginning, like we talked about with Méliès and everything.
Yes.
But yeah, okay, yeah. We'll talk about just some of these quick ones I'll mention, because I wanted to mention the Soderbergh one, because he comes back, he's on TV. And he says actually something that Linklater mentioned in that interview I've been mentioning a few times. That this is Linklater's quote. But it's not an imposed narrative. It's an awareness that was always there. So the narrative becomes aware of itself. And then the film is actually aware of itself as a narrative, a story, a film. And that's the Soderbergh joke at the end, that the film is aware of itself as an economic entity. And because do you remember the joke that Soderbergh says? It's really funny.
I forgot what he said.
Okay, because... he quotes a Louis Maillet.
Louis Maillet.
And Maillet is like, he's telling Billy Wilder, I'm making a $2.5 million film.
Okay,
yes. This was a great joke. It was a great joke.
And then Billy Wilder says, you just lost $2.5 million. And that's what Linklater's saying, is like, even the film is aware that it's losing money on this, you know, kind of like, it's aware of what it is, what this is, you know. But that's just another beautiful aspect of, like, almost all great directors know, like, they're to some degree they're like getting away with making a movie, you know, because they're not expecting, like, they care about the money to some degree, but they're not expecting to, you know. What comes first is like whatever they're trying to tell.
Great directors, at least.
Yes. Yeah. Even though you should care to some degree if you want to keep making movies, you should care to some degree about what they make. But I mean, some directors are okay with making like 5 movies and be like, all right, that's it.
Well, but even if you make a mega successful movie like John Woo did with Face Off, you only got one more like American movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was Windtalkers after that, I'm pretty sure.
Paycheck.
Oh yeah, Windtalkers, Paycheck. There was Blackjack too, which was a pilot. That was a TV. That was a TV. Pilot.
Still got 3 though. Still got 3 in there.
That's true. Paycheck did well.
I think it was
Paycheck did well too, though.
No, I think it did well for like it would have been well now, but back then it was considered like not as good.
A flop, yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, I got sidetracked.
All right, so there's a couple more. Damn. I already talked about the Linklater at the pinball, where he's like, he actually tells an interesting story about his dream. I think it's his. No, he tells.
Yeah, about him being in that state that he's.
But it's something about Philip K. Dick wrote a story.
Yeah.
About I forgot what it was exactly. It's like some old lady, a lady that kept having a dream from 2,000 years ago or something, and his theory was that. We're actually in that same moment 2,000 years ago, and the illusion of time is the fact that we think we're not in that same moment.
Yeah, we're all in 52 AD, but it's all just like a collective thing.
But
like,
the demiurge is telling us using the illusion of time that we're not in that same spot.
Yeah.
And basically, what Linklater's saying is that same spot is that God is always there. God is immanent, and the demiurge is using time, the illusion of time, to convince us that God is not there. That it's only in the past. You know. And that's interesting because, like I said, in Indian philosophy, this idea of illusion of time is a very real thing, or like what we're seeing is not real to some degree. And kind of what we've been talking about. But, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're actually basically at the end. There's the last scene is actually this is the kind of the last scene where he's talking to Linklater because it's actually really funny. Where he says, because he's still trying to get out of the dream almost, because he's like, I can't get out of it, and I want to wake up for real. Like, how do you really wake up? And he's like really desperate. And then Linklater says, I don't know, I'm not very good at that anymore. Like, kind of admitting, like, honestly, for a lot of directors, it's probably too late.
Yeah.
But then he says, but I don't know, just wake up. And then he like, then the screen changes, almost being like, Linklater kind of just instilling himself again. That's like almost another transition he's just like openly putting in the movie. Yeah. That's kind of the movie ends with him floating away.
He tries to grab on the car handle.
He tries to grab
misses
on the
it,
car
and
handle.
like,
which kind of goes to the point which you're saying like he might have just been dead.
Yeah, that's why I thought he was dead. Like at the end too, like his 5 to 10 minutes of brain activity were up.
yeah.
But like that's kind of like how I thought about this whole movie, because he's going through all these basically different philosophies on death and life.
Yeah.
And what better time to actually think about that than whenever you're like that 5 to 10 minutes after you've already died, basically. Because like it's something I think about sometimes. Like no one knows really like where our spirit and consciousness, like what consciousness even is really, because like we don't know what happens whenever we die. Obviously, we don't know. I choose to believe that death is the beginning of something new, because like it's just way happier to think of it that way. Yeah. But that's also like I think of sometimes like, if you're really religious, if you're really a Christian, or if you're really a Buddhist, is it your mind, like your mind is so powerful, like your consciousness is so powerful that whatever you believe actually happens? Like that's your next path in life? Like if you believe there's a heaven, like you actually believe there's a heaven, do you actually go to heaven?
I see what you're saying.
Or like if you actually believe in reincarnation, like is that where your consciousness goes? Like what happens? Like it's just like, I don't know, my mind just thinks that.
I can see what you're saying. like that 5 to 10 minutes of your death, that in between, like we're saying.
Yeah.
Could that like almost feel forever? Like your spirit almost goes to that place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Basically, like choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure.
But it's kind of not choose your own adventure. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's almost the same way. Like the way I see it is, I don't know if there is life after death, but if there is, it's like the same way. There's no baby that knows what they're coming into this world, and it can be explained after we get here. Scientists can tell us like how we got here and stuff, but a baby itself doesn't know why it's here, or why it gets there, So the same way, like how do we know that if we do have a next life, like what are we entering?
Yeah.
If you see what I'm saying, kind of.
No, yes, I do see what you're saying.
And this is why people believe in reincarnation and stuff too.
No, yeah, like
especially when you see like in a lot of Indian philosophy where the spirit is more important than just matter itself.
Yes.
And the spirit is...
Well, because the spirit isn't quantifiable like matter, like, we don't know anything about it, really, like...
Yeah. No, and there's a lot of disagreements on what it is, too, between the religions and stuff,
yes.
so... but basically, I don't know. What do you think the theme of this movie? You had to describe it briefly.
What is life?
Yeah, I guess or becoming aware, of a dream, or becoming aware in your
dream cinema.
Yeah. It also has cinema, too.
Yeah.
Because I skipped it a little bit earlier. The scene where the chimp is talking to everyone, and he's kind of like from the future.
Yeah.
And he's talking to a class. The scene that's playing on the projector is from Kurosawa's Dreams.
Oh shit!
Really?
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
I didn't, no, dude, it's crazy because I had that thought when I was watching it, and I might have known in the past. But this last time I was watching, I was like, "Is that from Dreams?" But I didn't want to say it, like in my head, because I was like, I'd actually done that with an earlier movie, like a month ago. I was like, "Oh fuck, is that from Dreams?" Like when I was referencing it, but it wasn't Dreams.
But was
like,
it
okay,
Dreams?
stopping it.
Like, what scene of Dreams?
It's he's playing. It's when the guy's running down the mountain in Dreams, just like in slow motion. And he's like looking up from like it's like a volcano kind of.
Oh, the gas attack.
Yeah, the gas attack.
Okay,
kind of thing. He's like running down like in slow motion. You can see it on the projector.
Damn. Dreams. Oh, fuck.
Great movie.
Great movie. Yes.
Dreams.
Obviously, directly in some way, directly related to this movie too.
Dreams might be the best movie about dreams. Honestly.
That's a good question.
But like, yeah,
That's a
but
good,
that's
a good
tough,
top 10 or a good draft.
A good draft or something.
Okay.
Debating whether a movie counts or not.
Oh boy, yeah, that'll be like, because like,
no, this is a dream.
well, actually 8.5.
Good part dragging it.
Well, 8.5
No,
actually
that
probably
doesn't
my
count.
favorite.
Doesn't
That's
count.
about dreams.
That doesn't count. It's
It's
about dreams, but is it a dream?
Yes, because the Fellini is Guido. And Guido's dreaming, so it's Fellini's dreams. Come on, you know
Like-
I'm right.
I would say 8.5 is a dream. Yes.
Yes.
Damn. All right.
Let's go. Let's go. Like,
It does. You don't have that ending if it's not a dream.
like,
I mean, that kind of leads us to this next movie.
Yeah.
Is this movie a dream?
Yes.
Like an
No.
afternoon
No.
Oh, dude, that's
It's
how.
like it's so weird. Honestly,
Yeah, it is.
Like, this movie's
It's impossible to answer.
No, yeah, I was so confused while watching this movie, and actually watching Awakening Light after it kind of helped me because it kind of helped me like actually kind of think of what they were like what he was trying to say in this movie
Which
about
is,
like
I mean, you should try to say it.
reincarnation
What do
and
you
dream.
think?
Like,
Okay.
well, to me, I was like, you don't know obviously whenever they first enter that village if he's from there or not. And by the end of the movie, I still don't know if he's from there or not. I don't think he is. I think he's just having memories of a reincarnated, or like not like reincarnated. Like he's not like obviously the husband of this girl was not reincarnated into his body, but maybe a little bit.
It is a movie, you know.
It is a movie, but like maybe like that just like personality decided to cling on to him for like a day,
Yes.
like or 2
Yeah.
days or whatever, like whatever they spent there. And then after that, it was just like it was a dream for him, but for everyone else, it was kind of real. Like you know,
Yes.
but like how you tell the difference between like if this is your real husband or not, if he's acting and saying everything exactly like your
But
real
it's very,
husband,
it's
or-
very certified copy. Like that's the
Exactly.
I haven't
movie
seen
I was
Certified
thinking about.
Copy,
Because
so.
okay, should I bring up the symbol?
Yes. Yes.
Certified Copy is about basically this couple. It's a Kirstein movie too. This movie is felt very Kirstein.
Our audience knows they're well educated.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully,
They're well
yeah.
educated.
If not, educate yourself.
I haven't seen Certified.
What?
Oh shit!
Our audience doesn't know. They're not well educated.
Okay, fine. Okay, so
you
should
don't
I,
watch it though. What the
No, I
fuck?
do.
should I explain the plot now that you have?
Well, the plot you can explain.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Basically, this couple meets, and basically they think as a joke or whatever that they want to pretend to be a real couple. Basically, the movie progresses, and then like the line is blurred of like are they actually a real couple
Yes,
or like
yes.
you know, like reconciling basically. Like I probably explained it pretty bad, but like
But I think no, that's a good explanation. I think because both movies also they make that split clear between like you have to believe what's happening. And you have to be like this is a movie, but at the same time, all the characters are treating it so real. You start to get confused.
yeah, it blurs the line.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, you know, kind of the point we've been making is all movies try to do this to some degree.
Well, it's
You know,
like-
we talked about with Asteroid City.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
there's also just been cases and movies about people remembering past lives, which is kind of where my mind went to this after he leaves.
It feels like
again.
something like
Where's
that.
Because
Where's
it feels
Ethical,
like
basically?
Where's Ethical? Obviously,
the
like
obvious
Tropical
one.
Malady is obviously a past life movie.
Uncle
But
Boon Me,
Uncle Boon Me
who
too,
recalls
yeah,
his past
yeah.
life is literally in the
Yeah,
title.
literally in the title.
Same joke as Century, yeah, everything. Yeah.
No, yeah, because like I wasn't like really understanding what was happening until like people were like basically forcing him away because he wasn't actually the guy. But like that's kind of what made me think of like he is just kind of recalling a past life almost as they went through that village. Or like whenever he fell asleep, literally. Now he's just recalling a past life for a couple days. I don't know.
So, what about you, Luke? What do you think of the movie?
Oh, I loved it. Really, like, of course, like, you could definitely dissect this, like, intellectually, but this is a movie I just, like, I love the feeling of it, mainly.
Yes.
Just how, like the title is, like, the most perfect. Like
Oh.
An Afternoon Dream, because that's literally what the
Yeah.
movie is. Like, that's how I enjoyed the movie, really.
I love the camera a lot in this movie
Yes.
because I had this note. It kind of my opinions kind of changed just slightly, not too much, but like the first 10 minutes of the movie, I like wrote in my notes. I was like, this literally feels like a Psy movie, but with more talking.
I was thinking, yeah, Psy.
Like-
well, Psy
Like,
and
there's
We're
more
Set the Call.
talking,
We're
but
Set
he
the Call,
uses
definitely.
he uses his
Sound.
camera. He uses his camera a
Yeah.
lot the same way.
He sets
Like,
up a scene and he kind of just
yes,
lets them
just lets
roam
things
into
happen.
it.
Yeah, like,
Like,
just
Which
lets
is
it happen.
apparently because a lot of his other movies are a lot different in tonal.
Oh, okay.
Like he has one called that I haven't seen. That's about like bullfighting, I think, or something about a raging bull through a town. Apparently, that has a very fast camera and stuff, like very fast editing. And the one I watched called Chorley, that was from a couple years ago. That kind of has like in between, like I would say it's in between. It's a little more like a little more horror elements too. But so basically, he's trying a lot of different styles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why this one is known as like he's not known as like a slow director really. I guess like this is known as the slowest movie for sure.
Yeah,
It's slow. I wouldn't call it super slow, but it definitely is filmed in a slow way.
It starts out slow, but I feel like when they get to the village, it kind of sort of speeds up, like especially during the chase. But it's weird. It's kind of in that like in between.
I will say it's slow to me because it's basically the movie takes place it's over the course of like a day.
2 days.
Or 2 days, yeah. So
I'm
it's like
pretty
almost
sure.
basically real time kind of.
Yeah.
Like a realistic feeling of time, you know. You get a lot of like slow moments of him just like going to the town and stuff.
Yes.
Like
remembering the town even though he's never been there, basically. So.
Okay, yeah, I remember what I wanted to ask you. So when you said you didn't understand what was going on initially, how long did it take you before you realized what was going on? Like, before it clicked in your head? Like,
it took me I'm pretty sure until he fell asleep on his grandma's lap or on his mom's lap until like whenever he woke up the next day again or something. I honestly don't remember exactly when it clicked for me because like at first I was like, this guy is living two lives, like because whenever they said said that this guy left 20 years ago or something and went to the city, I was like, so he went to the city, married this other lady, had this kid. Whenever he already had a wife at home, but then he's obviously like it changed somewhat after that. Where I was like, this guy just isn't the same guy at all. Like
once you start getting more of the reactions.
More of the reactions of the people.
Yeah. No, but
because even the townspeople don't even know who he is whenever he first goes in there. They know that he's acting a lot like the guy that left, basically, but he doesn't look the same. So
no.
But it's been 20 years, so.
No, that honestly, I could see that, especially even towards the beginning. Like the wife is just almost shocked more than anything.
Yeah.
Like someone came back from the dead or something, more than it's like not the same person.
Yes, yeah.
Which I guess kind of.
And that is kind of what she said. That's kind of what she said later on in the movie.
Yeah, she does say something like that. But because I guess some of the introduction, like when you say at the beginning of the movie, so one of the important parts of the movie is all this bus of group of tourists. They're from the state called Kerala, which is right next to the state called Tamil Nadu. And I can't say I know that much about their kind of rivalries or difference over the history and stuff. But at least in this movie, you can tell, like, this guy, he's from Kerala, but he doesn't really like Tamil Nadu that much. Like, that's because they're having to drive through.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's annoyed. And, like, he even says, like, on the bus on the way there, they're playing Tamil. And this is actually an important part of the whole movie. You hear a lot of old Tamil song.
Music from this movie is really cool.
Old Tamil music, from a lot of like 80s, 70s, and 80s and 90s Tamil movies. And he's making that reference specifically in terms of like, because I was thinking about this today at work as I was thinking about this movie, is someone was like on the speaker was playing old Disney music. And I was like, I still remember a lot of these songs, even though I haven't heard them since then. You know, they kind of just stick in your head.
Yes.
You know, like the right when you're played. And like that's the same way a lot of these old music is used in this movie. For a lot of people that understand, if they watched movies growing up in Tamil Nadu and Kerala and stuff, where you would recognize these kind of music in the background and stuff, especially like the way it's used on speakerphones and everything.
Yeah.
Where that's how a lot of music and stuff is played in Indian villages, like over these loudspeakers and stuff. So you kind of just hear a lot of this, and I might link it in YouTube description too. There's like a playlist I found of a lot of the music from old movies used from the movie. So I'll just send it to you guys because. I found one of those songs I'll use at the end of this episode, but there's a lot of good music in it.
For sure.
But kind of just that idea of just this random memory waking up, like kind of just happening all of a sudden from a long time ago, like you said, 20 years or something. Yeah. It's almost like that's what happens with this guy. Like all of a sudden, like they're driving by and this like it's almost like an old song, like the way a song memory pops up. This guy just becomes this other guy for a day.
Yeah.
Like it's. And that's kind of what one of you might have mentioned earlier. You just like the feeling of the movie.
Yeah.
That's still how I feel. I've seen it twice now, and I think that's what I like the most about it. Where I'm still not exactly certain what happens.
But
like, there's not a clear explanation.
I don't even think. I don't even think I want to know. Like, honestly,
no.
Like, I don't.
Well, I like kind of thinking about like what it could be. You know, like maybe that kind of thing. But I don't think it has to be too.
Well, because it's also
like it's not like a plot hole thing where I have to be like, oh, what happened?
Yeah. There's also just this. Like you said, the clash between the two states, but there's also just this clash between Christianity and like, I don't know if they're if the village is Hindu. Are they Hindu or are they Buddhist?
Hindu probably.
Yeah, because like it's definitely just not a clash of religions, but kind of dissecting, like, because he's a Christian, like he's supposed to be a Christian.
There's both those themes kind of interplay, mixing.
Yes, like literally mixing the two of them.
There's also a scene that kind of plays into the rivalry between, I think at least, it plays into when they stop at the restaurant. And then the one guy's like, "Oh, the bus driver probably stopped here because he's getting a commission or whatever."
Yes, and then that, and then when they're also eating inside that restaurant, he says something like, "I hate Thelma food."
Okay, yeah.
That's another kind of sign that he doesn't like where they're about to go, which is supposed to emphasize like how shocking it would be for this guy to all of a sudden walk into a Thelma village and just know everything.
Yeah,
honestly. But honestly, we've kind of gotten to.
We're already going through it.
Yeah, we're already going through it.
Which also I should mention about the restaurant. The scene where when they first arrive, you see the guy rolling the patty.
This is where I thought Sai.
I thought
Sai from the first shot. I thought Sai from the first shot of just the hotel and the guy running to each door, knocking on each door.
But typically the repetition of tasks.
But yes,
the Weird Spectacle has a similar shot like that too.
Well, yeah, this is Sai and Richard Linklater, the two directors.
Yes.
And Kiarostami, like the camera reminds
using dreams in this very like at least camera realistic way. You know, like very still camera.
Yes. Not even just realistic, just like capturing everything. Or like whatever is in the frame, just capturing everything, basically. Not like you're kind of like Ozu, like a disconnected camera almost. Yeah, still camera.
Which honestly, would you say that kind of is Kurosawa does that in Dreams too? When you think about it, his camera is very like
it's like one of his least moving cameras.
Yeah, not moving much camera, like more just kind of observing it.
It definitely is. It's more of his one of his more painterly ones.
Yeah, just interesting thing about this.
But honestly, I wonder if like Kurosawa's camera probably got slower as he aged or something. Like he moved less and stuff.
I want to watch Seven Samurai again at some point and then watch.
Because he definitely moves it a lot. I mean, obviously.
I want to watch like compare like his like one Kagemusha or Ron to like his earlier samurai movies like Throne of Blood or maybe I'll do Throne of Blood because it's shorter.
No,
I love Seven Samurai.
Well, didn't he get farther away from the action as he got older? Like he would just shoot from like really far away. Like
Ron shows.
But even Seven Samurai, he was still shooting using long lenses and stuff to shoot something like from far away.
Yeah, but like I feel like more of the talking scenes in like Ron are shot from far away. Well, like Seven Samurai, I feel is more closer up. I would need to rewatch.
There's more to capture in Ron. He's trying to capture a general talking to his army.
Damn.
Kagemusha too. Have you seen Kagemusha?
Yeah, we watched it together.
Oh yeah, we watched it together.
Come on,
so good.
Okay, I do want to read the beginning kind of opening title card because I think it's interesting. So it says, "To the God who awakened me, from the tangled dreams, to the old advertisement that gave the seed of thought, to the filmmakers who have turned their messy lives into stories and characters." And it's like that's basically his dedication.
Yes.
Which even that is like not clear. Like we've been saying, like this movie, like that quote to me like feels right more than I can exactly explain it. You know,
it's really the filmmakers making the
that one definitely we can all relate to for sure. This is like definitely this podcast, but like because the second line, to the old advertisement that gave the seed of thought, to me that's like saying like he must have got this idea for the movie from like some old ad or something.
Yeah. Well, can you say the filmmaker line again?
To the filmmakers who have turned their messy lives into stories and characters.
Okay, you can kind of think of that. Remember the Cocteau quote? Since these these
mysteries are beyond me, let's pretend
we're organizing them. Like kind of the facing messy into something.
Damn, yeah, that is a film.
And Antonioni had a quote about film, where he said, or the messages in film, like you can be as clumsy as you want with it, of the message. And basically, when you film it, like people will still find coherent out of it, no matter how clumsy, you know. And it's funny because Bergman famously didn't like Antonioni, but he said in an interview like, "I don't like Antonioni," but he said this one quote one time that I really agree with. Like,
damn, that's kind of funny. He's like, "Your haters are reading you the most."
Damn, honestly, we need more director beefs, bro. Like, bring them back. Like,
honestly. Like, dude, did you see like Sean Payton call out Nathaniel Hackett?
I did, yes.
Like that never happens in coaching, but we need that more just in general.
We need that more with directors, especially. Yes.
Yeah. But see, it only happens with people that are like really secure in like their kind of position already. So like Orson Welles, like you know, obviously,
like we need Scorsese to be a hater, but he just loves
everything.
Close we have is
which is fine. I like
Schrader. He'll give his opinion every now and then, but he's still
we need John Carpenter to come back and just like start roasting people again.
Yes.
We should have honestly posted
Even
that
though
Altman clip at the very end of the Altman episode, the last one.
Okay, no, he was wrong about that. He was so wrong about that.
He was so wrong about that. I didn't agree with him either, but it was hilarious.
Damn.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, we should. I mean, I don't want. We don't have to go. We've kind of talked about
it's
the plot of the movie anyway, but basically, yeah.
I should mention this movie also is very like funny too.
It is.
Like, it's not like.
No, that's why honestly, because I haven't seen too much sci, but we're about to get into him. But definitely Weird Stuff to Call.
Which I call
these earlier opening scenes where you're not really introduced to anything, and you're like, is this even a movie, or is this just like kind of why are we watching these like normal things happen to this guy, like getting ready to go to to we don't know where they're going. They say, I think some temple.
Like going to nowhere, don't they say something about that?
Pilgrimage or something. They're saying they're once you're religious.
There was some there was some text or something that said like they're like on like going nowhere or something, right?
I don't remember that.
I feel like there's something similar to that, but
I know it's some kind of religious pilgrimage. Like but anyway,
what you said about being funny is like Sai said that about a lot of his movies. Like he didn't think they were funny whenever he filmed them, but whenever he goes back and rewatches them multiple times, he finds them hilarious because it's like, and I agree with him. The more I watch them, the more funny I find them because it's just kind of showing he's at least kind of showing the absurdity of like over everyday life almost.
Yeah.
And it just kind of becomes funny at a moment. But he was specifically saying this about Dragon Inn, which we'll get to obviously in that podcast, but about the urinal scene in that movie because that scene's honestly fucking hilarious.
And there's also like scenes in Dragon, like when the guy puts his feet up.
Well, and like in fucking I think it's Days whenever the sink breaks, like it's a harrowing moment, but it's also just so funny how Lee Kung-shing deals with it. Like,
well, I feel like he got more funny as time went on. Yeah. Honestly. But anyway,
he's just talking about Psy because I just watched Journey to the West, and that's literally just about a monk slowly walking. But that movie's funny.
No, it is,
it's
dude.
Very funny.
No, that was my favorite part.
There's like
what's the last scene? I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it?
Not this one.
Honestly, if I describe it, it won't sound funny at all. But it's basically, it's like a spoiler for like the most like this movie can be. But I'll say it anyway because we see one monk. We see the main monk.
Lee Kung-shing.
Yeah, Lee Kung-shing. Yeah. He's been walking. But there's like a second monk that comes and starts imitating him.
Okay.
That's all I'll say. That's all. I watched the whole movie of him by himself.
Well, no, because like Walker is honestly, it's hilarious. Because first off, it almost feels like he's trolling you, making you watch Lee Kung-shing like inch himself forward, which is kind of how all of his Walker series feels. But like Walker specifically is like 26 minutes of people just walking by Lee Kung-shing and doing a double take, going like, "Is this motherfucker really just standing there?" And then they see how slow he's walking, and it's just the faces of everyone in the crowd is just hilarious to me in all these movies. But
but that's part of what makes it funny is every reaction is different, you know, and you're almost like, and then once you realize what's happening, you're like waiting to like see what's this guy gonna think or something.
Exactly.
No, there's like a lot of little thoughts that come.
Because some people just don't even notice them; they just keep on walking.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. That's another thing too.
Yes.
Like it's almost like everything. Like we've kind of been talking in both these movies, but Psy is definitely from what I've been reading about, especially his later ones. It's like that's what he wants you to realize. Like even in these everyday moments, there's like these moments we can realize like that are funny or sad or any kind of emotion. But. Damn, I don't know how we got to Psy early.
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it. This movie feels like it, like we already
for
said.
the next series, you know.
How much dreaming does he? Does he have a lot of dreaming in his movies? Like, does he show dreams?
No.
I know he has one movie called I Don't Want to Sleep Alone.
I mean, Goodbye Dragon Inn is kind of just a dream, honestly, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's very dreamy, but like...
That might be his most dreamy. Well, I mean...
I Don't Want to Sleep Alone is more like yearning for just to like have human connection.
He has dream-like... Like fucking Face definitely feels like a dream, almost.
Yes.
But he has some movies that feel dream-like, but it's never specifically like the person fell asleep.
Well, okay, The Hole, actually. Like, any movie...
No, that's what I was
musical
saying.
Sequences,
like The Hole and The River both have very dream-like nature, like dream-like natures to them also. Like,
so it's not like it's not like.
So I'll be looking for that. I'll be looking for.
Oh yeah, for sure. He gets more dream-like, I think, as he goes on too. Like I said, I don't know. Or like Days is definitely not very dreamy, but
we'll get to that.
We'll definitely get.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely be coming back to that. So.
But in this opening scene, before we get to the village, because we've already talked about that a lot. There's one part I wanted to mention because at least to me it's kind of important. Is when he's like paying for these like hotel rooms that they've been staying at or something. the guy has a poster of a guy on the wall, and it's from a famous text called The Third Curl. And he asks, "Oh, what does that say in Tamil?" And he reads the first thing he said, and these are translations anyway, at least that they have, so they're probably not like all translations, not one-to-one accurate. But anyway, so what he says is, "Death is sinking into slumber's deep. Birth again is waking out of sleep." And he says, "Oh, what?" And he says, "What does that mean?" or something like that. And then he says again, "To sleep is to die, and to wake up from sleep is birth." And almost kind of like what I was saying earlier about, you were saying about having a new answer when you wake up almost.
Yeah.
This is kind of that same concept of, like, if you really think about it, like, if you do see yourself as every day you wake up as, like, a new person or a new event,
Well, that's kind of
really
like
what this quote is saying,
That's kind of like how we were talking about with Waking Life also, almost. But, like, that Rabindranath Tagore quote I posted on Twitter is also the same thing. Like, the night comes to an end, and every day is like a new day, basically. Like,
and we see it as our head as just another day.
It's the same thing, yeah, but it's completely
different. But if you really think about what's actually happening, it's a whole, literally a new day, like almost like just a completely new image in a movie or something, or a new scene, like the same way. But I think that's kind of like it's a nice quote that I think at least gives a good feeling of what the movie's about too, because they go to sleep.
Yes.
And then the movie starts, or the whole new life starts with this one event that we talked about. I don't know, like.
Dude, I do
want to mention a few parts because, like I said, I don't want to go through scene by scene, but I do want to mention one part before I forget that I really like about the movie, because we've mentioned two directors, Weir Sethakal and Sai.
Yes.
But another one that really reminds me of, especially certain scenes, like when we see them at the back of the bus and stuff, is Buñuel. With Exterminating Angel.
Yes,
and then also A Discreet Charm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, do you think it's... Are you just saying, like, the feeling of it? Or like
Exterminating Angel, they're all in the same dream. Literally.
Yes.
Kind of. They're all stuck
I guess, okay,
in the same kind of hallucination.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking, like... But
you can say that with Discreet Charm, too.
But do you think he's commenting on, like, class, like, as well? Or is it more
no,
just, like... You're more saying about the subject matter.
Dream,
like,
too, and this kind of feeling of the movie itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, Buñuel, like...
Because there's this...
all his later movies are dream-like.
Yes.
Pretty much. Like,
they are.
The Obscure Object Desire, like...
Yeah.
It's very dreamy, but yeah. And Belle de Jour, honestly.
No, yeah. That one's the... Yes, I would agree. All the later ones are kind of more... We'll have to talk about this maybe on a later episode, but what do we mean exactly by dreamlike?
Yeah.
In a film context, specifically, versus a more narrative film where it's not dreamlike or something.
Yeah. Because dreamlike and surrealist are like kind of
that's I think what we're saying
yeah.
exactly in some ways anyway. Because like we've said that about Fellini a lot too in some of his movies.
But in a way that's probably because in film those are kind of maybe this very like kind of equal in a way.
Why though? Like that's what I'm saying. We
I think about it like.
Damn. Okay. What else comes to mind?
I want to talk about the dream, like how they like get into the town, because I love just the bus drive into the town basically. Like they're literally just all like everyone falls asleep one by one. Like that's the thing. Like they're like about them all being in like a connected dream or like this collective dream basically. Like because they all fall asleep. Even the bus driver falls asleep. Like he's trying. Like that was the scariest part. I was like, where the fuck is he? Like this is actually gonna fall asleep and they're gonna get in a wreck or something. Dude. But no, he literally falls asleep too. Like everyone's asleep.
No.
So they're all in the same dream. It's just like it's super weird.
Which honestly, that's very God, what's the Cemetery of Splendor? What's that called?
Yeah.
When all the soldiers are sharing the collective afterlife, they're like fighting a war.
Yes.
In some other like dimension or whatever. Like
that very much
it's pretty cool. Like, but yeah.
Damn. No, because it's such a good. It's like because usually when this kind of filming technique is used, it's used to do actual realism. You wouldn't have kind of a miracle or a dream moment like this happening. If you're going to have a kind of moment like this in a film, it's going to be overplayed, to some degree or something. But it's such underplayed. I love.
What it reminds me of a little bit, or what it reminds me of now a little bit is in The Mouth of Madness. Actually, whenever they're going through the tunnel, like they're basically like driving through the clouds. And he's fallen asleep, and like as they go through the tunnel, they're passing into like that new dimension, and she's awake, but he's not. This one's obviously a little different because everyone's awake. Or everyone's asleep. But they also, like, whenever the bus driver falls asleep, like, it feels like they're going into, like, this new dimension almost.
Yeah.
Or, like, this new...
especially once you know, like, what the plot is and stuff. Especially, that's what I'm saying. If you listen to the music, how it's used, this kind of, like, old-timey, or, like, this old Tamil music, but it's, like, the way you're hearing it is also like old time audio. You know, it's like speakerphone, kind of like you can tell the audio is not very good quality. You know, it just has a more nostalgic feeling as you're listening to itself. It's almost getting you into that dreamlike state. Yeah, you know, as you listen to it too, and it just very lulls you in.
It does,
like in a way, almost film could do, just like by the rhythm of how you're seeing the images and stuff. I will say another thing I want to mention, because at this point, like, I don't know where we are in the movie, so I'm just going to mention stuff I like that comes to my mind. One part I like is the different characters' reactions, especially the family to the husband. At least I'm going to call him the husband for this one day or these 2 days, which he literally is to them. Like, just their reactions of what if you saw a guy that you know your husband was, they say disappeared. He basically disappeared for 2 years.
20 years. It's been
20.
No,
they have a daughter.
20. No, they said the husband has not been back for 20 years.
No, it's 2 years.
I thought it was 20.
It's 2.
No,
he has a daughter. He has a daughter.
I thought 8 years.
It can be.
I thought it was 8 years.
It might have been 8. It can't be 20 years.
I thought that they said that he went to that city 20 years ago and never came back.
You're talking about the... No.
I'm pretty sure. I thought that's what they said.
It must have been 2.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
because he has it. We see the daughter. Yeah. She's like probably like in 9th or 10th grade or something.
I have no idea how old she is. So.
Yeah, because she even said, like, at one point where he's acting as the husband, he says, "Where's my daughter? She always eats with me every day here."
Yeah.
And then when he comes, and then one day when he's driving past the temple at the end, he says, "How long has this temple been here?"
2 years.
It is 2 years.
2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So you add the 0 in your
subconscious.
You add the 0 while you're watching it. No, but basically all their characters actually, like, if you saw a person like acting like your father or husband, you know, like, there's probably a part of you that wants to believe it. You know, as much as what you're seeing to a certain degree is like, I think to me what makes me think of most is like, there's a difference between what we see and what we believe. As much as sometimes we think what we see is what we believe.
Yeah, there
is a difference, and this movie's kind of overemphasizing that point where like. If, like she says towards the end, where she's saying stuff like, he was doing exactly as what my husband did 2 years ago. He was the exact same mannerisms, like in a way only he could have done. Yeah. You know, so how could I? You know, I'm seeing
that
something.
That was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yes, and to me, the central character of that is actually the mom, the blind one. You know, where to some degree she actually sees what's going on better than anyone else.
Yes,
you know, where it's like. She's basically just willing to accept it almost, you know, where like she doesn't change her attitude, you know, almost like the way the film itself is. Like it doesn't change his attitude to what's happening, you know.
No, she doesn't. The ending of the eventual story is really sad because you just see her crying.
Oh, dude, it's the most beautiful moment of the movie. Sad. Where it's one of the few close-ups. Honestly, we get a few close-ups of the faces, but hers is just like a single tear down her eye too, like through the glasses.
Yeah.
Damn, it's like it's really sad because you can tell like. It just makes you think of what's going through all their heads as he leaves.
Yeah,
you know, like there must have been at least some part of you, like at least you know my husband is back to some degree.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Is it just ends like it doesn't like nothing like we get no explanation from the husband or anything. It's just they all get back on the bus and leave. Like it's just like it just ends like that.
And that's very dreamlike.
That is definitely very dreamlike. No, yeah, because he just wakes up and he just says to them like, "You guys ready to leave?" And they're like, "Yeah." They just leave.
Yep, and I like how it doesn't show that, like, you know, the after effects or anything like that. You know, they just go.
Yeah.
And I think one of the themes of the movie is, I think one of the side characters says it at some point. They say something like, "Grief is still grief, no matter who it is," and you really get that through this, mainly through the two central wives, who are honestly in some ways the two central characters, because like. As this is happening, you're kind of just going. It's like almost in your head, like what are each one of them thinking?
Yes.
You know, like is one of them losing their husband and one of them gaining a husband again, or is what's actually happening, or both of them?
Or is one of them losing their husband again?
Exactly.
Basically, yeah, because that's how it feels like.
Yeah, that's that when he's walking away, it does feel like that.
Because like it feels like that because that moment that you were talking about earlier, where she's saying all that, because she was like, because this entire time, everyone, I think the uncle. the dad's okay. Like he's kind of like all this happened because he doesn't really understand it, and he's kind of like the grandma. He's letting everything happen. But the daughter and the uncle are both like being very hard on her.
Yeah.
And it's at that point where you brought up the quote where she basically, she didn't like break, but she kind of broke and said like, what would you think if you were in my position? And all of a sudden, after apparently 2 years, the husband, like, or this man walks in, acting and sounding exactly like my husband from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The exact same manner was like you said. Like, it makes you think of her position of like maybe she thinks that she's gaining, like she doesn't understand it, but she actually has that person that she loved back in her life for at least these 2 days.
Exactly, and that's why that scene when he's walking away at the end. And you see her reaction is like, that might be what she's thinking.
Yeah,
you know?
Very. That's a big reason why I compare this movie to Certified Copy. Like,
yeah,
that
honestly.
part specifically is very
like even if what's happening is fake, like that desire for wanting that to be real is still real, like, even if it creates that.
Isn't there? There's a quote in Certified Copy. He's like. To want the leafless garden is like that garden is leafless. Who dare to say it isn't beautiful?
Yeah,
like it's sort of in that kind of vein.
Yeah,
like who are you to say that her feelings aren't valid?
Yeah,
just because the guy technically like physically isn't her husband. Yeah, it's.
I will say though, maybe the movie has an answer because I was going to mention this, and this kind of goes to what you were saying is the way he at least realizes himself. Because one of the actor in this, Mammootty, he's a really famous Indian actor, and I've seen him in a few movies. And he's a really great actor, but he's so good in this as kind of like playing this overly defiant role of even though everyone else is telling him he's not that guy, he still wants to believe that guy. You know, like
you're not that good.
Yeah, literally. That, especially honestly one of my I'm glad I mentioned it because it's my favorite scene in the movie is when he comes home at night and it's like shot from behind him and he's like parking the motorbike in like on the side of the house, and he's walking in, and you think it's just he's like all alone with his family. He's like talking to his family and stuff, and then as he enters the house, it cuts. The camera like basically takes the house position and cuts outside the door, and you see all the villagers and everyone from both sides standing watching them like it's a play or something. Yeah. Almost like basically breaking the movie, you know, like showing you both sides. And then that's when he comes out and has this whole speech of like, this is my town, and he's like begging everyone to be like, don't you recognize me? Like, it, like even if it's a movie, you almost empathize like, what if you were in a place that you thought was your home, and all of a sudden like everyone around you is telling you, no, this is not your home. Like you don't belong here. You know, like we don't know you. You know, like he does such a good job of just acting that kind of role. No, just a really good scene too, and kind of just breaking the rules of what cinema does is like breaking that 180-degree line too by showing that it's just. Another great film.
Does that a couple times because they do it again. He does it again in the daytime, obviously.
Yeah, when he's leaving too at the end.
But yeah, you were saying like I think you were about to bring up like the way that he realizes is by going to sleep. Like,
well, no, it's actually a scene before that. When he goes to get a haircut or something, he looks in the mirror.
Oh yeah.
And he sees a reflection, and that's when, like I said, it's like hard for us to separate what we see and what we believe.
Yeah.
That's like a moment for him where it's like, wait, like what I've seen, I have to believe it almost, because like the people around me must be right because that's what they're seeing, and that's kind of that's when he goes to sleep. It's a really great montage of like the clouds, like we see some birds and stuff, and like some great shots, like all the villagers asleep, and then all the people.
Oh, everyone's asleep. Everyone's asleep again. Everyone's asleep again.
That's what I'm saying. That's how the movie starts and how it ends.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why that quote makes so much sense. To sleep is to die, and to wake up is birth. Because they wake up, and that's how the movie ends. But yeah, that's how the movie ends. We've kind of talked about it. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
How did you discover this movie? I'm also curious.
Well, actually, I should...
Your parents?
No.
They haven't seen this?
They have seen it, and they liked it.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which I was glad, because... Especially... my dad, he recognized a lot of these old Tamil music songs,
I'm sure.
Which I was really glad, because he's like... He even mentioned, which made me happy, he mentioned... while we were watching, he said something about kind of that feeling of the old music. How it was heard back in the day, too. Through old speakerphones and stuff. Like, just creating that nostalgia through the music. He said it was really really good, so...
No, I'm glad they liked it too, though, because it's
sometimes
well, it's a slower movie, but even like you never know how your parents are, because your parents are Christian. They're kind of like exactly like the protagonists that are in the bus in this movie. Like
Exactly,
Christians
yeah.
in a majority Hindu population.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like it's always weird, or not weird, but like nerve-wracking whenever you show your parents
Yeah, no,
something
exactly,
that goes
that's
not against their religion, but like brings something new to the religion almost.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, dude. And I'm glad they liked it. Like, because that's, I think, why though is because it's not very didactic in the opposite view. Like,
Yeah, no,
it's not just because it's like not a Christian movie. It doesn't have to be non-Christian or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very open movie at the
It
end of the
is.
day.
Yeah.
Like you can read it, you could see it as a 100% Christian movie. You know,
Yeah, you can,
could,
for sure.
if you wanted to, because like it doesn't say much. It just has a lot of things that happen. But is there anything else?
Wait, I'll say how'd you discover it though?
Oh, there's this guy on. He actually has a film blog where he's posted a lot of like Monty Call interviews that I found. But I think his blog is called The Seventh Art. I'll post it in the description.
Nice.
But he posted. I followed him on Twitter, and he posted it once, like saying this was like the best movie any movie seen in a while, and it was on
Okay.
Netflix. I was like, oh shit, I gotta watch it. So that's how I watched it.
Yeah. I also want to mention.
I'm glad because I've known about this director for like a couple of years, but I was like, you know, I've been waiting to get to some of the newer Indian cinema.
Okay.
But I was like, this one came out.
Yeah.
To me, I thought it was this year. So
Yeah. I also should mention I love the scenes. We didn't really talk about him on the motorcycle. Like
Oh,
really,
going through the
really
town,
funny.
yes,
like
yes.
he's just trailblazing through, and then they
Yeah,
got the two
yeah.
guys like trying to
Oh.
like pedal and like after him. Like oh my god.
Or when he goes to like that kind of like coffee shop, or the tea shop, and you can tell like all the villagers have been there for a long time. They're all just sitting there talking,
Yeah.
and he comes in there like telling like a big story and everything. And then when he leaves, everyone's like, I don't know, he just came in here and started telling these stories, acting like he knew everyone, and then left. And it's like, yeah, it was just another funny moment, but also sad too. But
It's a little sad too. No, it is nice watching. Well, like here in America, like unless you're really plugged into Indian cinema, all you really ever hear about are either Bollywood movies or like just these big epics, basically. That always have.
yeah.
Well, like it's just the classic Bollywood.
what was the
movie
one
that-
last year?
RRR.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Tolly. That's Tolly.
Tollywood, but still big epic.
It's just
like
like
you're
just
saying,
a big epic and that has a lot of like musical numbers and stuff like that, and follows the same structure basically. Like we watched Bahubali. Wait, is that what it's called? No, PSI. I haven't seen Bahubali yet. I want to watch that one too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I want to watch
Which are also better,
Bahubali
but,
also.
yeah, but like you're saying, those are the more.
Yeah, those are like all we ever hear about over here. So it's nice to like because like I love Amit Duda and he's nothing like that.
Yeah.
And he's another Indian filmmaker that no one ever talks about. But I really hope people start to find this guy too because I want to watch more of his movies. Even though you said that they aren't very similar to this, but it's nice that stuff like this is being made at least over there. Still,
But
so.
it's still the same mind though, at least.
Yes.
You know? And apparently he's written. The writer of this one wrote two other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I've ever seen a Bollywood movie, like any of those, any Bollywood or Hollywood movies.
Damn.
Is
And dude,
Raj-
you like musicals. You might
Is
be able to
Raj
appreciate
Kapoor?
Bollywood more
Is he
than
Bollywood?
most. What?
Raj Kapoor or Kapoor? Raj Kapoor.
Raj Kapoor.
Is he Bollywood?
I honestly don't know. I haven't seen any, but I think he is.
Yeah,
I
because
think
that's
he
who
is.
I
He's
was
like one of
thinking.
the-
I was thinking of like his movie, like Three
Yeah.
Idiots, like because I've seen.
Okay,
Which I love these movies. Like I have nothing against these movies. I love these movies, but like I do wish that we got more or like saw more of the Indian cinema because I'm sure there's other great ones also that are more like Monty Call and more like Satyajit Ray, like more like what I like. More
parallel cinema, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has that name, India Parallel Cinema.
Yeah.
The Indian New Wave. That was originally called stuff, but
I like parallel cinema. There's too many
Parallel is
waves.
better, yeah. But see, that thing, parallel cinema could apply to any country.
Yeah, but
That's parallel, just parallel to the studio system. Or
yeah,
the,
which
like
but
what you're
Indian
saying,
it makes a lot of
the
sense
studio
though,
system.
from what I know. Like, because
The what?
there is a Indian parallel cinema makes sense as a name, like as a parallel specifically for India, because of how big Bollywood is. I feel like, but also I don't know
more
much
that
about it,
it's
though.
more that there's different studio systems. Like you just said, Tollywood. There's a
Yeah.
lot of different ones. There's a lot of different big studio systems. Bollywood is just basically Hindi.
Yeah.
Like parallel is like with all those different languages having studio systems. There's also parallel filmmakers to those studio systems.
Yeah.
Kind of. But you could say that about any or a lot of different countries anyway.
Yeah.
It makes it complicated because, like, you know, Japan, a lot of their famous films, like Imamura, he was actually making studio films.
Yeah.
Well, so you can't say they were parallel necessarily, even though they kind of.
But that's what I was saying about India. It makes a lot of sense from what I know because there is a very like
But
well
it's like,
defined.
what about like independent cinema in America? You can call that parallel.
Yeah, I guess yeah. But yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. There's something specific to India that really has that name, except for it's like parallel to the studio systems. You know, like they were making, but most people only think of India as a studio systems. That's why it makes sense to be like, oh, India is parallel. That's why it makes sense. But really, every country has studio systems that are huge.
I guess, yeah.
And most countries have independent, cinemas parallel to them.
Yeah.
I guess it's a little more complicated because I guess some parallel cinemas they did make some studio movies, kind of. But
well, is Bollywood like what? Do you know what percentage of Bollywood, Tollywood are musicals?
Most of them. I guess that would. I haven't like read too much about what the distinctions are really, but like I guess one would be like a lot of movies. A lot of Indian movies are very formulaic. Like you have to have a lot of songs in them.
Yeah.
And one distinct aspect of a lot of these movies that are parallel, they don't have those kind of formulas.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So
yeah, because it's usually like the first half is like mostly comedy, musical numbers, and then like the second half there's like the intermission or whatever, and then the second half's all action basically. Yeah. Still has musical numbers in it, obviously, too. But
but there's a formula. Like
there's
people
a formula
expecting,
that people follow.
Especially because in India, a lot of these songs, like in America, we listen to musicians, like a lot of artists, musical artists, but they're independent of movies. They're way more combined. Like the musicians people listen to, a lot of the famous songs, they're in movies. Yeah, and that's why people would go watch them too, and that's why a lot of the songs can feel forced in the movies because like it's almost like the movies are made for the songs.
Okay, it's not, most of the time I think it's okay. But.
And if you do it well, like Mani Ratnam makes them work really well, and there's other directors you can make them work really well and stuff and make it coherent. But
I can't remember the Raj Kapoor movie I've seen. It's like a 3-hour Awara. That's the one I've seen. That movie. Oh, fucking amazing! Like it's 3 hours. It's a 3-hour-long musical, basically. But like the musical sequences are done so well. It's like I think it's a courtroom drama. I think, if I'm remembering the movie correctly.
That's interesting.
It's been a couple years since I've seen it, but I remember loving it.
There's so not much better than like a musical number in a movie.
Yes. But like his musical numbers in Awara specifically are so dreamlike, man. It's like they're so good.
But yeah, that's a like an afternoon dream. We'll come back to Indian cinema for sure in the future.
Is this the first Indian movie we've ever?
No, we did Mine of Clay.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
We're definitely our podcast has kind of been building up to more. I feel like Eastern or Asian cinema in the future. So
we start with
that's where
we're getting our basics out of the way.
Well, that's where I specialize in East.
You're an expert.
Not yet. I want to be though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've seen a lot, but I won't call myself an expert yet because I still haven't seen nearly enough Shohei Marie.
It depends on who you're comparing yourself to. But
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, relative to us, like
relative to us.
You are like.
Yeah. I haven't even seen.
Like I've been saying,
I haven't even seen 500 movies from Japan yet. That's the thing.
Damn, I need to. I
don't think. I have to check. Actually, I don't think.
But see, those letterbox ones, you can't trust those.
That's true.
Because they always put like ones that like ran up. Like if Japan produced a movie,
they'll put
in a different country, they'll put it on there and stuff. It's like not really Japanese or something, and vice versa.
Yes,
but like Dursu Ozawa, is that a Russian movie or a Japanese movie on Letterboxd?
It's on both. I'm pretty sure. Because it was mostly filmed in Russia too, but
and it was mostly produced in Russia.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. But I don't know how Letterboxd does that. But yeah, anyway, what are we doing next? We don't know what we're doing next week yet.
I'm going on vacation, so I won't.
Yeah, Blake will be here, so it'll just be a week probably. But yeah, until next week, hope to see you floating through the clouds.
Mayakkama kalakama manadile kuzhapama வாழ்க்கையில் நடுக்கமா மயக்கமா கலக்கமா மனதிலே குழப்பமா வாழ்க்கையில் நடுக்கமா வாழ்க்கை என்றால் 1000 இருக்கும் வாசல் தோறும் வேதனை இருக்கும் வாழ்க்கை என்றால் 1000 இருக்கும் வாசல் தோறும் வேதனை இருக்கும் வந்த துன்பம் எதுவென்றாலும் வாடி நின்றால் ஓடுவதில்லை, வாடி நின்றால் ஓடுவதில்லை. எதையும் தாங்கும் இதயம் இருந்தால் இறுதி வரைக்கும் அமைதி இருக்கும். மயக்கமா கலக்கமா மனதிலே குழப்பமா வாழ்க்கையில் நடுக்கமா. ஏழை மனதை மாளிகையாக்கி இரவும் பகலும் காவியம் பாடு. ஏழை மனதை மாளிகையாக்கி இரவும் பகலும் காவியம் பாடு. நாளை பொழுதை இறைவனு கழித்து நடக்கும் வாழ்வில் அமைதியை தேடு, நடக்கும் வாழ்வில் அமைதியை தேடு. உனக்கும் கீழே உள்ளவர் கோடி நினைத்து பார்த்து நிம்மதி நாடு. மயக்கமா கலக்கமா மனதிலே குழப்பமா வாழ்க்கையில் நடுக்கமா. மயக்கமா கலக்கமா மனதிலே குழப்பமா வாழ்க்கையில் நடுக்கமா.
கிளி முத்துச்சரம் முல்லை கொடியாரோ பாவை என்னும் பேரில் வரும் தேவன் மகள் நீ.